That'd be good. Hello, everybody. It's More of the Lines UK, just having a chat before we start up here. Matt and Ash with Playo Time, Canadian Rams fan. How you doing, man? Thanks for joining us.
Dude, I'm doing so good. Thanks for having me. I'm excited for this game. I'm excited for the city of Detroit. But of course, I'm excited to talk about my Los Angeles Rams coming in and trying to, get a win. Get a win.
What it's all about. We're going to get into the recorded section in a bit, so we're going to leave the good stuff just for now. But what a crazy season you've had. What a mad season.
It's been nuts. It's been a lot of fun. It's I'm one of those people that I definitely I knew the Rams were a well coached team, and coaching, as you guys have learned, can help a lot when you have good coaching. And then I think just like it ultimately came down to the Rams' massive draft class, and like there was some signs like they drafted 14 players and all 14 made the roster, and that's super rare, right? And like to draft that many players, let alone they all make the roster, like no one got cut. And you saw some good things about Puka Nacua in camp, and Kobe Turner and Byron Young, and really like it's a really good draft class, plus some young second and third year players stepping up and improving to be NFL caliber, players. And that's been the Rams turnaround. And this is supposed to be a rebuild year. And here we are. Rams are in the playoffs.
This is the way you do the rebuild, right? Get into the playoffs anyway.
Yeah.
Absolutely crazy. We're just waiting on Ant to come in. I think he's just having some late dinner before joining us. So we're just chewing the fat a little bit.
He needs some fuel to maybe outmuscle you as Puka Nacua's #1 fan in the world. Ant was so big on him in the pre-draft process, as he'll probably tell you in a second now as he joins himself. And then me, I was a massive Kobe Turner fan because I'm a FSU fan. So I saw him tear Maurice Smith apart when we played him when he was in his last season with us. Damn good defensive interior. I wanted him here, but alas, you guys got him instead. And hasn't he led you guys in sacks and pressures this year? Made the PFF's all-rookie team?
Yeah, he has. He's got 9. Yeah, he's doing really good. And what's been cool for him, especially, is seeing him like he definitely had his early season like struggles and slow start, but I want to say since about like week 8, he's just constantly involved in the game here.
How you doing, Ant?
Bruised and battered, but yeah, apart from that.
Is it your ribs still?
Yeah, I just pulled some taking a lasagna out the oven, and I can't lift up with this is like my coffee drinking hand. This is not my coffee drinking hand, and it's all down the side of me, and it's just, I don't know what it is. It's been all right all week until just then when I got a bit too confident, and now I'm in a lot of pain again. It's like, oh, bugger. So
it's a ragu-based disaster.
Yes, it is. But alas, these are the pains we suffer.
Sorry for laughing.
I know. I don't remember laughing when you weren't around and holding the fort down. We weren't taking jokes out of you.
Yeah, you were.
Nice. No, we weren't. Ash made a long snapper joke. That wasn't me. I didn't do anything other than that.
Yeah, fair. I did listen to most of it. Yeah. I'm not like that. I'm just going to laugh at your pain. I'm sorry. Oh, Peo. We're going to talk about your channel, obviously, on the recorded bit so everyone gets to hear about it. But just to chat about like you and your origins, because the channel's obviously much bigger than ours. And how long have you been going, and how it is obviously very successful. So just talk to us about it.
Yeah, it's been my third this is my third season covering the Rams and doing this YouTube thing. I started my channel a couple years ago. Do you guys remember when the Rams lost to the Adam Gase led Jets?
Oh God.
Yeah, so I posted a reaction video to send to my friends. Literally, like that was, and I was ticked. I was done with Goff at that was the game where I was like, we got to trade Goff. Like I think a lot of Ram fans were kind of in that, and I'm sure we'll talk about Goff's career, which is one of the most fascinating careers ever. But we lost that game. I was so ticked, and had a bunch of people watch it, and then like probably similar to you guys in ways, like where I live, there's not a lot of NFL fans, and like there's not a lot, especially Rams fans, and so my channel just became like this avenue where I could talk to other Rams fans, and it's been really fun, really cool. And I host watch parties for every Rams game, and that's kind of where my growth has mainly come from. And I think that like people don't watch my channel to like get like amazing insight or like stats or things like that. They watch it just to empathize with me. So I have no doubt that I'll have some Lions fans. I've already seen a few of them that they show up in my comment section and talk a little bit of smack, which is okay. I don't take it personally. But yeah, it's been really cool, really fun, and like probably similar to you guys. And I'd love to hear like your opinions on this. It's almost made being an NFL fan way more fun, like having this YouTube thing.
Definitely. I absolutely love it. I mean, because we do a bit more of the deep dives, it's kind of forced me to watch the game more closely and actually try and study it a bit and learn. So that's where that's come from it. But just the sort of community aspect of having people who keep coming back and you talk to them and develop a relationship, that's always really, really cool. I love that. What about you guys? Has it been a positive for you as a fan or a negative?
Yeah. Well, literally prove what you're saying. I was originally one of those when these guys first started. I was the annoying little guy in the comment section posting the breaking news for them, and like
nothing's
2.5,
changed.
3 years later, nothing's changed except for now they've got a face to go with it. But it has made it so much more fun. Like I was always one at school, like going through fantasy football. I'd always deep dive it, but this has made it just go so much deeper. Like learning all the rosters, schemes, all that. It's made it just so much fun, and getting that community. Like we talked to, obviously we've got British people over here in the Americans, but then we've got fans in like Scandinavian countries. We've had a few Australians in it. Just widens your horizons, horizons your widens.
Oh God, Ash! I love.
I haven't even had a red stripe yet. I'm saving those for later.
Horizons.
You got Rob Brydon on the brain, Ash. What do you think about Rob Brydon for?
Would I lie to you?
It's more Gavin and Stacey. They keep putting it on in the TVs at the call centre when I'm working.
How you doing, Anne? What's it been like, actually, for you as a fan? Because I know, obviously, we've gotten a lot better at doing this, as in talking to the room, as it were. But as a fan...
I enjoy it a lot more, because I can understand it a lot more now. I think, before when we did this, I understand. I realised I understood so little about it when we started doing this that I actually sat down and read books and articles and stuff trying to learn. Now that I understand a lot of it all, it makes a lot more sense. So it's a lot more enjoyable as a fan now, especially doing all the college stuff as well. You kind of understand the draft aspect of it as well, which makes it a lot easier. And so it's like a year-round thing now. And then the best thing is you get a break from it. You can have like a big ass break over the summer. You can relax a bit, but the big thing for me though is I don't know what I did in life before I did this, because I spend that much time doing this, like been on Twitter all day preparing content, and I'm thinking, what did I used to do with all this spare time before I did this? Because there was a time when I did a podcast. I don't know. Like, I'd have so much spare time if I didn't do this, but I wouldn't change it.
No, I completely agree.
There's something I have to ask you gentlemen here. So I'm a former cruise ship worker, and I had two friends from the UK that I was really close with. One, his name was Rich, and he also was a massive Lions fan. And so I was just like, okay, maybe like the Lions have this like fandom over in the UK that I just don't know about. The other one, her name was Holly, and she told me to tell you guys, she's like, tell them I'm an Essex girl and they'll know what that means.
Yeah,
Yes, we
Yeah.
do.
there is a stereotype for Essex girl. I mean, you don't
Yeah.
say girl really, do you? It's Essex bird, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Don't make me laugh. Stop making me laugh. I can't afford to laugh today.
He's got to quite literally bust the ribbon.
Oh,
That's it, Ash. Keep telling those jokes because I'll not laugh. They'll just make
have
me
you got
groan.
have you got the Mike McDaniel? Have you got the Mike McDaniel thing ready yet?
No, because that'll make me laugh, and then I can't have things around that make me laugh today. So,
if so, Essex girl, Essex bird, think Jersey Shore, similar
Yeah.
reference.
okay.
or literally the only way is Essex because it's all about Essex birds.
Yes,
Ow.
yes.
And,
Hunt Island.
And my friend Rich, he was from Port, or is it Port Dover or just Dover? However you say it.
Dover.
Dover, yeah.
Well, one of the closest places to France, very, very south. So, yeah, almost the closest, not quite.
Where are you guys in the UK?
I'm in Bristol, which is southwest. Ash?
I'm Nottingham, so like dead centre of the country, pretty much in the Midlands, caught up in the war lines between the north and south.
And I'm up in the north, so
There we go.
one of each.
We have a really interesting question actually from Mike the Marine that he says question for later, but I'm going to do it now just because I think it's an interesting conceptual question, mainly for the Detroiters, but Rams guys can chime in as well. Mike asks, do you fear Cup and Nakua more or less than Jefferson Addison? Which I think is a really close call.
Very interesting question. I would say like Cup and Nakua are very different wide receivers than Addison or Jefferson, right? Like their style of play, they're very polished route running. Like especially Cup, he's just like he'll call an audible from the wide receiver position just because of his football IQ, and it's not uncommon to see like them and you'll watch it on Sunday. You think like almost every play there's going to be a man in motion for the Rams. Sometimes it'll be Cup, sometimes it'll be Nakua, sometimes it'll be Tutu, sometimes it'll be Robinson, sometimes it'll be Ben Skoranek, sometimes it'll be Tyler Higbee. And they always use motion and pre-snap movement to help throw someone open. And it's a really, really well done. And when McVay's offense is going on all cylinders, it's when Kyren Williams is running the ball really well and they're using play action and jet sweep and jet motion. And it's been a treat. It's been a real treat to watch. And so I would say like if you don't have the corners that can kind of read what the offense is doing, the Rams offense it's a juggernaut. It'll be really difficult for the Lions to stop it. So I'm excited to see it.
I have to think that I find Cup and Nakua not similar in style, but they win in similar positions. I guess they're like running styles completely different, but they're winning in the same positions in the field. Whereas Jefferson, Addison are winning in different areas of the field. So as a tandem, I dislike going up against Jefferson, Addison more because I feel like they're threatening the entire field between the two of them. Whereas Cup and Nakua is mainly underneath and wide outside the numbers, as opposed to over the middle. Whereas I think Addison, Jefferson can do it anywhere on the field, both of them. So stylistically, I prefer going up against Cup and Nakua, but it's going to be horrible either way. So
Addison and Jefferson are like they're flashy splash players, like they always have been, like the big explosive guys. Whereas Cup and Nakua, like they're both obviously Cup's a small school guy. Nakua comes from a place where they build hard asses. Like they're the two that will. I don't like facing those types because they're like our guys. You know, they'll block, they'll kick your ass, they'll do the great stuff in the passing game, and you know, I don't like facing those guys because they're really good. I really don't like facing Puka because I spent all last year blowing his trumpet before the draft, and now the fact that he could come here and like knock us out in the playoffs would that'd be horrible. But I think I think Nakua and Cup are more dangerous because I think we've seen that we've beaten the Vikings a lot in recent years. Those guys can get yards, but again they're flashy sort of things, and you can overcome that. We've overcome the Vikings twice in a row, and they've put a load of yards up on us and big splash plays. But the guys who really graft and work hard, like those, they're harder to beat, and they're just really good receivers as well. But they do all the dirty stuff first, which I don't think Jefferson and Addison do as much of. So from that point of view, I don't really want to play them. Cup and Nakua over the other two.
Yeah,
Right.
I guess it's a case of like the devil you know rather than devil you don't. We faced this answers them twice. Jefferson's gone off, can't stop him, but we've kind of kept Addison in check. Maybe it's rookie struggles. Maybe obviously he needs to put a few pounds on because he's not as big as like Puka or Cup are. He's kind of a bit slight. So I think you can let Jefferson get his like 150, 200 yards, but you can keep Addison in check while with Puka and Cup. Overall, it's hard to contain both of them because Cup such a good route runner, as you say, good football IQ, who'll be able to find the holes in the zones. While Puka, because he's sort of got that bigger body, if you put, like, for example, I don't know, if we put Khalil Dorsey on him, who we might do, he can outbody him. And if you put Kindle Field or Cam Sutton on him, he's got the athleticism to beat them. So it's going to be harder to contain both of them because they're overall better. While Addison and Jefferson, you can let Jefferson go and just sort of focus on stopping Addison, and it's easy to contain. So I'd rather face Jefferson and Addison, but that just might be because I've seen them twice in 3 weeks and we've contained them. It might be ask me again next week and it'd be like, please, can we face Puka and Cup? Because we somehow managed to hold them both 50 yards. And they'd be like, yep, let's face them again next year, please.
Speaking it into existence. Exactly. Right. Shall we hit record on this thing? Get started. And you look like you're really struggling, mate. Have you taken painkillers?
No, because unfortunately, I don't. I only take them in the most serious of circumstances. I try and work my way through it. So
you are visibly wincing just sitting there.
That's who I am. That's why you love me. So
he's a Dan Campbell player through and through.
Exactly.
The Gritmeister.
If we're gonna beat Jeremy and all the pod guys playing football over, so we've got to be tough. We can't be slouching. We've got the honour of this country to represent, so got to do it right.
God save the king and all that. Oh right, okay.
Not the king. Let's do it like someone worth representing that's British or something. Like God bless Ian McKellen or something like that.
Oh yes,
Stephen Fry. Well, Stephen Fry's doing Jeopardy now, so he's going to be even bigger icon in the US.
Oh, yeah.
Have you not watched it? It's awesome. No. It's so good.
No, I'm busy watching that post office thing you recommended.
Oh,
doing that at the minute.
Are you enjoying it?
Yes. Well, it makes you feel uncomfy.
Oh,
I'm enjoying it, but
it makes you feel shame to be British. It really does. Yeah. They had a panorama episode yesterday on it, and it was even worse.
Oh God.
So yeah. Okay, let's hit record on this thing.
Recording in progress.
Welcome to another edition of the Roar the Lions UK podcast, episode 248. We're off to the playoffs. My name's Matthew Turner, back off injured reserve, along with Anthony Fitzpatrick, Ashley Soden, and our good friend Payo Time, Canadian Rams fan. How you doing, everybody?
So good.
Yep, doing good.
Yeah, I've been better, but it's the playoffs. We're there. It's been 3 years in the waiting, so that trumps anything else at this moment in time. This is such a big game for us, and it's making me as nervous as it is excited. But I just want to get there.
You're hurt, but you're not injured. That's what I'm saying.
Exactly. I'm battling through it. It's what us Brits do.
Of course, we are here to preview the Lions' first playoff game since 2016, their first home playoff game since 1993, and maybe their first home playoff win since 1957? Is that right?
Something like that, yeah.
Oh, so It's a historic game. If
Yeah.
we'll break that down in just a second. But Peo, I'm going to come to you straight away for just a little bit of chat about you and your channel. Obviously, as in your name on YouTube, you are a Canadian Rams fan from Nova Scotia. Just tell us a little bit about you and your channel and your Rams fandom.
Yeah, like I was saying off screen, I started my channel kind of just as a way to talk to other Rams fans, just because there's not many where I live, and I love talking football. I love talking about the Rams. I host watch parties for each and every Rams game, and I like to try my luck at skits and things like that. And I'm just trying to have as much fun on the internet talking about the Rams as possible.
All right, we are going to get into the preview and the news in just a second. There's a lot of news to get through, so we're going to try and be brief with that, but it's the end of the season, so you got to do something, right? But we're going to do the little bit of preamble we always do, and please come and join us on our Discord channel because it's a really cool place to hang out with us. Fans of all persuasions welcome. We've got a Vikings fan on there. We've got a Browns fan on there. It's just a fun place to talk ball. So link is in the YouTube and Twitch descriptions and on the live chat now, so come and say hello. College Football Podcast and is coming up tomorrow. What are you talking about?
So we're going through the Hula Bowl roster tomorrow. So basically all the All-Star games are starting first stop on the path to the draft. That's where you get to see some of these guys. This one you get a lot of FCS guys, HBCU guys you've not really heard of before. So we're going to break that down. Me and Ryan have picked out a load of guys that we're excited about, and we're going to tell you. So it'll be all about that, really. It'll be good fun.
Please don't forget to like the show, sub to the podcast, all of that good stuff. You know how much it helps us out. And don't forget to add Lions Nation Unite on the Facebook group, Home and Wars Project, to bring the best in Lions content creators together. We're Twitch affiliated, YouTube monetized. There's a tip jar down below. So if you want to show some love that way, many, many thanks. Just like our friend Jeff Hurley, who gave us a super thanks for our previous episode in the interim between now and then. So thank you, Jeff, for that. Much appreciated as always. And our merch store is open if you want to rep us like me and Ash are all doing with our hats and hoodies. And you can find the stuff in the link I'm going to post as well now. Right, news, people. And there's a lot of it, so I will be brief. PFF all-rookie team. We've got Jack Campbell and Brian Branch in there, but Gibbs did not make it over Achan, unfortunately. But Achan has had an amazing season, so I don't think that's any big snub, really. Saul is PFF's offensive lineman of the year in the entire NFL. He is, I think, the highest graded offensive lineman, so that's not a surprise. But boys, do you think Gibbs is a big snub?
I mean, I'm calling fake on that news because wasn't our draft class meant to be one of the worst of all time? We can't have all PFF rookies if, we've had one of the worst draft classes of all time. So that can't be right. But in all seriousness, no, I don't think so. Like, Gibbs has been part of the rotation this year. He's worked his way in. Some of the other guys have been starting all year long, and we all know Gibbs is going to be an absolute superstar. Like, him and Monty are both over 1,000 yards in a rotation. That's special. So I don't think it's too much of a snub. We all know he's going to be great, and he will be in actual all-star teams in the next couple of years. So yeah, that's all that matters.
All right. There were two Rams as well, Peo. So we had Puka Nacua, obviously, and Kobe Turner. Obviously, had absolutely fantastic seasons, and two of the reasons why a rebuilding team, as we were discussing earlier, is in the playoffs.
Yeah, and in my humble opinion, Puka Nacua and Kobe Turner, they're the offensive and defensive rookie of the year in my books, and they've been a lot of fun to watch. Especially, Puka, he's been lighting it up since the first game, week 1, and I remember people being like, "Oh, like he can't keep this up all year. Like, trade him now in your fantasy league." Well, if you kept Puka, you're probably pretty happy. He balled out and set NFL rookie reception records in a season, and also receiving yards. And then Kobe Turner, he got 9 sacks from the defensive tackle interior position, which is very hard to do. And yeah, he's just been a delight. We nicknamed, or I don't know who nicknamed him this, but his nickname is the Conductor. And so like if he gets a sack, he'll direct the choir a little bit. So it's a lot of fun. Yeah.
I was watching the Giants game back and I saw him do that a few times. Yeah,
he had a big game.
Really fun. Big game. Just reading the PFF article, Puka Nacua, one of 6 receivers to post a 99.9 deep receiving grade this season, which is just all manners of holy shit. So we've got that to look forward to. We've got that news. Other news that we have, interview requests for Lions coordinators and personnel. So just to update you on that, Aaron Glenn, defensive coordinator, requested by the Commanders, Chargers, Titans and Falcons, and Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator, all of those teams, and the Panthers as well. And because the Panthers fired their general manager, Mike Disner, the chief operating officer of the Lions, is requested to become a possible GM for the Panthers as well. Boys, we were expecting it, but is that more than you thought they would get? Because, I don't know, AG seems to have a lot of love, but people seem to still be out on him in Detroit.
It's, as I said in the Discord earlier, I think AG will make a better head coach than he is a coordinator. So to call back to last week, obviously he got named the best defensive coordinator in the league according to the the Players Union. People seem to have thought that was to do with his scheme. It's because he's the best player to play for. He relates to his players. He's very good with them. Scheme-wise, perhaps not the best, but I think he's got that sort of thing where he will make a better head coach because of that than he is a coordinator. He can then put it out to other people to do the defensive scheme, to do everything else, and he can focus on being the overarching good just person to work for. So I completely expect it. Ben, obviously, he's going to get all the interviews because obviously it's always the big thing to have the next offensive young mind, as our guest will well know with Sean McVay. It's got some of the same connotations as that. And then Disner, I've been scared of that for a couple of years, knowing that the back office like I do. He has done a lot for this back office. Obviously, when we fired Bob Quinn a couple of years ago, he basically took over as a GM to the end of the season. He's stuck around. He's respected well in our front office and in the league. He was named in the Forbes top 20 under 20, top 30 under 30 like 5 years ago as a prominent guy who could really rise in the football ranks. So we knew that this was probably coming. I just hope to God they avoid the Panthers, because you do not want to be working for for Tepper, a guy who has a reputation for firing coaches after tiny bit of failure. You're gone. And we all saw that video of him chucking a drink over his fans. So what the hell is he going to do to the coaches and GM when they disappoint him by going against his orders, trying to draft CJ Stroud over Bryce Young?
I mean, good teams lose guys. That's where you want to kind of be at in life. You want to have a good staff so that other teams covet it, and then you bring in new guys. And with us, we're trying to build them in-house. We did with Ben. We bought him through in-house. We'll probably do that again. These are the problems you get when you're a good team. So while it'll be gutting to lose them, you would like to think that, if we can make the divisional round, or God forbid it, the NFC Championship game this year, that they'd stay for one more year to try and go for it all. Because, I mean, if you win a Super Bowl here, you can have any job you want, and it wouldn't be a competition for it. But if they go, hold it against them all, like I say, it's a good thing that people want these guys, and we will have the next guys ready to go. We have the right people right at the top, so I can feel comfortable knowing that we will get the right guys in to replace them.
All right, couple other bits of news. Derek Barnes welcomed a new baby called Trey to the family on Tuesday, so congrats to the linebacker. Hopefully he's enjoying some time with his family before hitting the ground running on Sunday. Jerry Jacobs, the cornerback for the Lions, who was a starter up until about a month ago, who then was unceremoniously benched for poor performance, then injured on special teams after being benched from the starters, has tweeted out goodbye at about half an hour ago. So, we don't know what's going on yet. Obviously, he's off the roster in some capacity. Now, mine and Ash's thoughts on this are that the injury is probably meaning that he's going to IR. And because that means you're out for 4 games, that's his season done, and he's not under contract afterwards. He's a restricted free agent. The minimum tender amounts to $2.9 million. I think that is borderline as to whether you want to pick that up. So it could just be that they've said to him, we're not going to pick that up, and thank you for your service. I don't know, but cut him or IR him. Either way, it looks like someone is being activated in his place. Boys, we have been not bandwagon Jerry Jacobs fans, I would say, because we love Jerry and his story and what he's done as a UDFA, and over the last couple of years he's been fantastic from absolutely nowhere. But this year, after a couple of picks early on, his play declines, and this is a sad way for it to finish if it does go that way.
Yeah, 100%. I know. Great story in that, but yeah, he is someone you probably want as like your first corner off the bench rather than a starter. Like he's definitely got the attitude, got the swagger to play corner, he's got the physical tools. It's just the technical stuff. So one of his big fingers we saw, especially in week 2 against DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, is he really struggles with flipping his hips to follow match receivers vertically. Teams knew that and they picked on him. I don't want to say he was lucky facing a Jordan Love when he was just getting started and still getting into groove of being a QB, but that's where like most of his picks came from. Had a really good game there, and yeah, just unfortunately it plateaued since then. Partly because obviously he's been asked to be a cornerback 1-2 when he's really not that. Partly because the scheme just doesn't fit him. He's more of a man coverage guy. We've shifted heavily more towards zone, and yeah, it's just a combination of bad factors. And then put him on special teams because the thing he was before he even became a starter was he was our starting gunner way back before injuries meant he had to jump in the starting lineup a couple of years ago and he balled out. He was a good gunner, gets injured on special teams, and unfortunately it's just gone downhill from there. So obviously wish him all the best if we manage to get him back as a restricted free agent next year as a gunner and like first, second guy off the bench. Great. Can trust him to do that role pretty well. But if he goes elsewhere for a starting job or whatever, I wish him all the best until he faces us, in which case then I hope Amon Ra burns him for 200 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, Jerry will always be a success story here. Like, he came in when the team was at its barest, had a lot of expensive corners, veteran corners who weren't doing anything in this team, and he led by example. He came in, he worked his ass off, he got his starting spot. He had some cold periods, but then he'd always get it back again. And, I've got nearly 3 years with him here at this point, and that's more than a lot of players do in this league, especially as an undrafted free agent. But now, unfortunately, we've gotten to the point where we are a playoff team. We are going deeper into the playoffs, and sometimes the caliber of guy has to improve, and naturally some players are just outgrown as they go along. But nothing against Jerry. He is a very steady player in this league, and he will do well in a rotation. I would still like to have him in a rotation here, just not as a starter so much. I'd have him as corner 4. He has special teams value greatly. He espouses the values of this team to the core in terms of the grit, determination, in terms of, being a guy who took advantage of an opportunity which he earned through hard work alone. So I'd keep him for it. But overall, I've loved having him here, and I wish him nothing but the best. I really do. If it is his last stint here, of course, he's earned it. He's just a plucky player who works his ass off, and you want to see those players succeed. So it's sad if he's done, but hopefully it's not the end for him.
Hopefully not. Right, one more thing is injury related, but we're going to highlight it here because it's maybe the biggest storyline for the Lions right now. Per a locker room interview today, Sam Laporta took some blocking reps and ran some routes with Jared Goff in practice. He said to Dave Paquette and Kyle Mankey that he is optimistic about playing on Sunday, which would be absolutely huge for the top 5 in the NFL tight end right now. We need him on the field if we're going to win this game, I think. A couple of other bits. One is specifically about Sean McVay and what he said about Goff, and the other is just about all the head coaches that have seen the axe fall on Black Monday and the aftermath of that. So, I'll go to Peo first for this one. Sean McVay acknowledged that he could have handled Jared Goff's departure better from LA, saying, the further away you get from it, the more you try and go as a man, as a person, as the leader you want to become. He deserved better than the way it all went down. I'll acknowledge that. I think he knows that too. I'm not afraid to admit those things, but I think we're all better being able to look back on those things, and I do have more appreciation for him as time goes on. Do you think that statement, I know that he's being asked the question because the game is coming, but do you think that McVay is very calculated about when he's making these comments? It's nice for him to say, but I wonder if the timing is just a little bit off.
So I am going to push back on that. He's made similar comments to this ever since, I would say, 2 months after the trade went down.
Okay.
This is like that terminology. You could tell he knew he was going to get asked about that a lot this week, but it wasn't new. It was like, if you've like, I've listened to almost every Sean McVay press conference in the past 2 years. Like, that's not something along that language that I haven't heard before. He's been quite outspoken about how he's not proud of how the trade was handled. And you can put the puzzle pieces together when you get interviews with McVay, Goff, and Rams general manager Les Snead, combined with their CFO Kevin Dimoff, about how, like, so Stafford told the Lions he thinks he'd like to move on, and they could get a draft haul for him. And the calls came rushing in. And the Rams were put in a situation because there were other teams like the Niners and Washington who were in on this Stafford trade deal. The Rams were the most organized, willing to to essentially get the deal done. And the speed of which it had to happen left the human element outside of it, which sucks for Goff. It really sucks for Goff, the way they went down. And I, to my understanding, McVay regrets that he didn't get to communicate to Goff the way they would have liked to. I know in Goff, in interviews, he talked about how, like, he made McVay have an exit interview with him. And like Andrew Whitworth tells a really cool story about how, like, Goff said to him, like, yeah, I'm gonna make him tell me why he's trading me to my face. And Big Whit, like, said, like, you don't have to do that, Goff. And Goff's like, no, yeah, I do. Like, and so I appreciate Jared Goff. I had my frustrations with him as quarterback, like most Rams fans did. He's someone I'll always cheer for, except for when he's playing the Rams, like on Sunday. But no, he you guys have been treated to the class act that is Jared Goff as a quarterback. Very, he's someone you don't have to worry about off the field, and he's very durable. He's been one of the healthiest quarterbacks in the NFL since he's came into the league and since 2016. I know he only missed one game due to injury for the Rams. Has he missed any he's missed 2 or 3 for you guys?
Yeah,
Two.
Yeah,
which is week 7 to 10 of his first season here.
Right. Okay. So, like, when you think of it, like, for a long, like, 2016 to 2023, only missing like 4 games, like, that's pretty impressive. But but going back to the point, McVay's going to get asked about those questions for sure, and those were talking points that weren't new from McVay, from what I've heard.
Do you guys want to comment on it at all? Because I think Peo's right that he has made comments to that effect before. So I guess it's not new information. But I guess my point is he talked about it at length at this time, whereas he could have said, I refer you to my previous comments on this. But he went into depth at a time which is potentially sensitive for us.
Yeah.
So.
No, it was rehearsed. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Do you guys want to chime in?
I respect it. Obviously, when it first happened, there were some rumours floating around that maybe there was a bit more of there were some personal reasons for why McVay wanted Goff traded. Obviously, we'll never know the truth of them. It's probably not true what the rumours were, but
yeah.
But we won't bring those up. But I do give McVay respect for coming out and saying, yeah, I kind of did fuck up there. I did treat Goff badly. Obviously, we have to respect. Obviously, it happened quickly. He didn't get the time to do it properly. But yeah, him holding up his hand saying, "If I could go back and I could do things differently, I would." I very much respect that because yeah, for a couple of those years, perhaps in Detroit circles, because obviously we've got mostly Goff side of things, and we had this awe of him anyway from maybe some of the other things that went down around then. We did have the reputation, maybe the reputation that McVay isn't the nicest coach to work for. Often, like scheme wise, great guy, can really scheme up stuff. But when it came to the actual like sort of player personnel side of things, he wasn't the best. To see him sort of reflect on that after a couple of years of being a coach, sort of looking back and saying, hang on, yeah, this is, I need to, if I could have done it differently, I would have done. Really good, like sort of personal growth for him, maybe. And gives, at least in my eyes, I got a bit more respect for him. I definitely had respect for the scheme side. Now for the actual coaching side, a bit more respect for him.
And I know that you have not been Sean McVay's biggest fan on this point.
No, I refer you to my previous comments.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
you've spoken on it about before.
And I'll just say one last thing about it is something that I'm quick to remind people of is actually the Lions front office in this point of view, right? Because the Stafford trade, frenzy happened really fast, and you had all these teams offering draft capital, and the Rams were the only ones that offered the Lions a solution at quarterback, right? If the Lions would have gone, like Jimmy Garoppolo probably would have been offered by the 49ers, but I would personally pick Goff over Jimmy myself, but that, I digress. Yeah. But like there's something to be said about if you're a GM, you have all these teams that are offering you this huge, haul of a trade. And like Brad Holmes, he just got hired as a GM. He would love some draft capital to, rejuvenate a pretty depleted roster. And so I think that there's definitely the element of like how Sean McVay and the Rams handled it. I am quick to also point out, though, that like the Lions, they could have at any point in time been like, you know what, we're taking our time. We're gonna, we want to hear more offers and stuff. But Brad Holmes, I've always appreciated him as a football executive, and let alone I'm glad he got to be the GM of the Lions. But like, do you guys feel that like the Lions kind of put Goff in that circumstance because the trade had to happen so fast?
Maybe, but I think we're seeing it from our side. We were trying to just get Matthew where he wanted to be as soon as possible so he could settle in. So we were trying to do the best by our guy, because obviously he came, we could have turned around to him and said, no, you're not getting traded, but because we want to do the best by our guys, as you've probably seen, for example, when we had Hard Knocks, where that last episode, you could see Brad and Dan literally sit down every single player that was getting cut and explained why. So, for example, the famous one is Tom Kennedy, where like he does, like Tom Kennedy, sort of like our bench chronic that you have, does a bit of everything, but isn't the most athletic guy. With like, you've done everything you can, but we're just going guys who have more upside. I think for us, we were just trying to do our best by Matthew, and then obviously when it came to Goff, when he came, then we tried to do best as we could by helping him settle in. So maybe it was just a case of, because Goff wasn't our guy then, we didn't think, maybe we didn't really think about it because we're trying to do best by Stafford. But as soon as Goff came through those doors at Allen Park and was our guy and did everything he needed to do, we were fully in, and then him settling in. For example, firing Ansel in halfway through his first season here because him and Goff didn't get on, promoting Ben Johnson because him and Goff did get on, sitting down in the off-season, not this off-season, got the one before, and Ben Johnson is saying to Goff, what do you like doing? So we started bringing in more of the play action concepts, more in-breaking stuff. So I think it's more because at that point, Goff wasn't our guy. We just didn't care, which sounds horrible and obviously kind of backs up your point, but I think it's just we've got to think about our own. And as soon as then Matthew became yours and Goff became ours, those mentalities switch where like, okay, we're done with you, Matthew. Well, John Matthew, as Kelly likes to point out, his name's not actually Matthew or Matt. It's John Matthew Stafford. We've done best we can. We've got the draft home. Now it's our time to sort of build around Goff, and that's what happened. So obviously maybe every side could have done something a bit different back then, but I think it's just we were all trying to do the best we could for the teams and the players, and it just Goff unfortunately was just caught in the middle of it, and he was the guy that lost out in terms of all parties involved.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah.
All right. I'm just going to turn it to the head coaches that have been fired, and then maybe we can talk a little Stafford Goff trade before we then talk about the game itself. So, head coaches fired in the aftermath of Black Monday. Arthur Smith is out at Atlanta, Ron Rivera at Washington, Mike Vrabel somehow at Tennessee, Pete Carroll and Bill Belichick have both been retired by their teams in Seattle and New England, or Belichick, an amicable parting of ways where the team said, we don't want to fire you, please leave, and he went, okay. And Pete Carroll's gone and done the, who was the Tampa Bay head coach who went after the Super Bowl?
Wait, sorry.
So the Super Bowl win, he was the head coach, and then
John Gruden.
No.
Gruden.
No. They won the Super Bowl.
Oh, Bruce Arians.
Thank you very much. Sorry. So he's done the Bruce Arians because he's going to be like the executive above or whatever. Okay. I don't know. Anyway, so what do you guys think about the job openings? Were you surprised about the firings? Let's just have a general chat about stuff. I mean, Belichick was rumoured ages ago. And then the last 3-4 weeks, the narrative has been walked back that they're considering keeping him. And now he's finally gone. And Pete Carroll's way out there for me, right? Like, are you as shocked as I am?
Bill, known for a while, me and one of my friends who's a massive Panthers fan, me and him have basically at least I'm siding more towards, actually not now, but me and him are debating for a while that he might just go to LA. So to do what Tom Brady did, go somewhere else with a roster that's good enough to win and prove I can do it away from New England. And then obviously when he's done it, he's won that Super Bowl, he can go off into the sunset. So Bill, I kind of saw coming. Carroll, obviously hoping for, because we all hate fucking Pete Carroll. Like the amount of times that, especially our friend Ryan McCluskey of the podcast has said he wants to punch him in his chewing gum little face. Now he's gone, so good, and it's harsh on him at the same time because obviously literally the day before he's like, oh yeah, I'm going to be back here. Tells the players that next day, oh yeah, I'm getting pushed aside to the front office. It's kind of harsh on him as well that he's one of the GOAT coaches, is one of 3 in American football history to win a Natty and a Super Bowl, yet he instantly gets overshadowed by the other 2 GOAT coaches, both retiring on the same day. It's him in 24 hours, so he gets pushed to the side. Like he had his little moments at the press conference, and then suddenly Nick Saban's gone, Bill Belichick's gone, and no one really cares about Pete anymore. And then you have Arthur Smith. We all knew that was kind of happening. Good OC, especially in Tennessee. Could see him maybe going back there, whoever gets hired there. Rivera, we all know that's coming as well. Good little rah-rah guy, but they need to move on. They need to progress now. And then Vrabel, we all heard the disagreements happen between him and the GM. He got told he needs to stop hiring his friends as coaches and actually do something. He wanted to also win now. They wanted to rebuild, so we could see that part in the ways. But Vrabel's probably going to enjoy his time in New England now because he's probably a shoo-in there to be their new head coach. So at least he's going to land on his feet now.
I'm so glad Pete Carroll's gone. Seeing him with his mouth lodged in a ref's ear trying to get calls every single play of every single game used to wind the hell out of me, because he got some because he did that. He's one of the only guys who's I just can't stand it. I'm glad he's gone. I'm glad I'm done with him. With Vrabel, I'm probably in a minority here. I thought he deserved to be fired. Like, that Titans team has he's going into year 6 this year. He'd been going into. That Titans team has been regressing. It's looked really bad. That offense has been stale as anything for years. It's run it with Derek and hope that whoever's under center and your wide receivers can do just enough to complement him to win games. And he's not deviated from it. There's been no change. It's just been the way it is. It's looked horrible. It's looked turgid. He's been given Malik Willis. He's been given Will Levis. They've not done anything with the quarterbacks. They kept Tannehill on. I just think he's more of a dinosaur than Dan is, because he literally refuses to change the way that he plays. I thought he deserved to get fired, and hopefully the Titans will get someone in better now. So I'm not surprised he went. I'm not surprised. I'm glad Carroll's gone. But there's a lot of vacancies to fill now. Some of our guys might be them, so I don't know. We'll see.
What do you think about Pete Carroll? Because you are intimately aware of who he is.
Dude, I love Pete Carroll. McVay had his number, and even before McVay, like Jeff Fisher and the Rams have had the Seahawks number for the most part for the past decade. You know what, Pete Carroll, I'll say this: he's definitely had a great career for a head coach. I kind of just get the vibe it was time for him to move on, right? And maybe he didn't know it, but the organization felt it. And I think a lot of Seahawks fans would even say like this should have happened, a year or two ago. And I think it was a shock to me because I truly believed that the Seahawks were going to keep Carroll as long as they had their current like team core, like with Geno Smith, with Lockett, with Metcalf, like as long as that core was there, they were going to keep Pete around. Now, clearly, they're making decisions, so that's why I was surprised, and I am really curious what they do at head coach, along with all these teams. I think that's one of the most fascinating things in the NFL is, okay, your team's terrible. Let's fire your coaches. Let's see how you rebuild, or if you have a coach that comes in and retools, or if you think that getting a new head coach is the reason why your team is losing. It's fascinating to me. In terms of Coach Vrabel of the Titans, I think there were definitely some power dynamics in play. The Titans got actively worse when they traded away AJ Brown, right? And they've never really recovered. Like you said, their offense has grown very stale, right? Like at times unwatchable. Like if you're a football fan. And so I was surprised by it in the sense of like, hey, he was coach of the year not too long ago. The Titans were the number 1 seed a couple of years ago. And now 2 years later, and yes, they haven't had a winning record in these 2 years, so it makes sense to move on from them. But I have no doubt he'll get a head coaching job again. Who knows where. And yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see. I'm excited for Lions fans to get to experience when you have a good team, your coaches get pilfered every year, and then it's going to be a test of Dan Campbell of okay, we got to rework this staff, we got to find new people, promote from within, and I think that's also a testament of a good coach. That's something McVay has done really well in his tenure with the Rams, and it's going to be exciting to see.
All right, let's talk a little Stafford and Goff because it is one of the narratives of this game. Obviously, it was only a few years ago that Stafford was sent to LA for Goff 2 firsts and a third in one of the biggest trades in recent memory, Deshaun Watson aside. And I think the argument is now well worn that it's been a win-win for both teams, with the Rams getting their Super Bowl and the Lions actively and successfully rebuilding to the point where they are a legitimate playoff team. And I don't think anyone argues with that, whatever the outcome of this game. So both sides have come out of it with exactly what they wanted. But just for the storyline of this game, Stafford returns to Detroit. As Ant said in his blog post, might get his first playoff win in Detroit as a member of the other team. I mean, the Lions obviously have their own history of the playoffs that I outlined at the very start of this in terms of home playoff game. Can they get their first win at home in the playoffs in 66 years? Which is a long fucking time. And, Jared Goff gets to prove something to his old master. He said the chip on his shoulder is never going to go away, but he's not going to let it determine who he is either, which I think is everything you come to expect from Jared Goff. I think everyone knows that. But just some thoughts from you guys about what this is going to mean to both players, because you've got to imagine, aside from actually going into a Super Bowl, this is potentially the most stress they're going to feel in any situation because it's completely unique.
I mean, I'm not here for the Josh Reynolds of revenge game erasure here. This is the true narrative we should be talking about here.
Right?
I know, right?
I'm salty you guys got Josh Reynolds back because the Rams put in a waiver request for him when you guys got him.
See, because that's probably one of the first big takes I had roughly on the podcast is that we should have signed him initially for agency because I knew he and Goff had that good chemistry.
Yeah.
I'm just so here. I love that guy. Like you probably heard at the end of that game, everyone's like, "Why the hell are the Lions not kneeling it? Why do they keep throwing to Josh Reynolds?" The fact we just kept throwing screens at him to get his like last 14 yards, so he can get that incentive in his contract. Picking him up for this game, I think, is giving him that confidence really coming, but it's just going to be big for so many reasons. Like the NFL script writers for this season, they crafted an absolute master plan with this game because there is exactly so many narratives like Brad Holmes and Ray Agnew obviously facing the team that they left to come here. All these different narratives. It's going to be fun to watch, and we get to finally answer the question of who won the trade because obviously Rams won it in short term, winning the Super Bowl. Stafford got his ring finally. Arguably, we won it in the long term because looking at who we got out of that trade, you guys got Stafford, we got Goff, Jameson Williams, Jameer Gibbs, Sam Laporta, Josh Pascal, Broderick Martin, Ifatu Melifonwu. So we've got QB who was arguably turned around, stabilized and turned his franchise around. A potentially game-changing wide receiver who's finally hitting his stride of us. Arguably one of the most hated draft picks in this season who's proven everyone wrong, especially after that first month where all the draft nicks and fantasy football nerds are like, this is why you shouldn't have drafted Jameer Gibbs high. Why they're not using him? They said they're going to use him offensive weapon, and now he's got over 1,000 scrimmage yards, 10 touchdowns. Him and Laporta are the only two NFL rookies in history to get 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns in the same season as each other. Laporta, as we say, going to be a massive miss this week if he doesn't play. Pascal, second rounder from last year, coming off a sports hernia injury, finally warming up the past couple of weeks. He's one of my favourite players. Can't wait to see what he can do against your guys' O-line. Broderick Martin, probably I hate saying the weakest pick of the bunch because he's someone we've drafted for the future in mind. He's going to be our future nose tackle, run stopper. And then Ifatu Melifonwu, one of the hottest players in the NFL this past month. That guy has turned from questionable outside corner, had some good moments, got injured, to now one of the best strong safeties in the league. Blitzing, coverage, run defense. He can do everything. So we can finally get that answer sort of like sticking the two, like both teams in sort of the boxing match of like whoever, it's a death match, whoever lives, whoever dies, so be it kind of thing. We can finally get the answer to quite a lot of the questions that were hung over both our franchises for like the past 3 years.
I mean, the question was like about Goff and Stafford, wasn't it? It's like clearly the bigger game is for Goff here. Like Stafford's gone and won his Super Bowl, and for Goff, this is everything for him. As I wrote about yesterday, I sort of went into this on a lot, but the Rams chucked him under a bus, sent him away. Sean McVay took zero accountability for that team's regression after their Super Bowl. He blamed it on his quarterback. And when Stafford went there, he goes, I've got a quarterback who I can win it with now. He said to Jared Goff he wasn't good enough to go and win when it really mattered. And now, 3 years down the line, that Goff has been able to rebuild himself here and that he finally looks like he's got his confidence back. And even when he first came here, he says it's nice to feel somewhere where he's wanted. And he looks like he's about at the peak of his powers now from where he is. He had the really awful first season. We had the better second season, and we've overcome everything to get here where we are now. Not only for him, he's facing the head coach who let him go. He's facing the guy who replaced him and won a Super Bowl. So, you could argue that what McVay said was true. But he's got then all the expectations of a city that has not won a playoff game in 60 years. It's not just about him. It's about the place he represents. It's about the team that he represents. And this is his old boss. If his old boss comes here and beats him and effectively says, yeah, we were right to do all this years ago, I mean, that's devastating for him. Whereas on the flip side, if he can come into this week and lead Detroit to its first playoff win in forever, be the only quarterback alive who's won a playoff game for Detroit, it's vindication for him that he can go out there and do it when it matters with everything on the line and maybe potentially take us even further. It's a chance to right a wrong that happened 5 years ago now. So it's all about Jared this week. It's not about Matthew. I'm glad he got his Super Bowl ring. We all are glad he did what he did. But if he loses this, no one's going to bat an eyelid. Like, they did what they needed to. For Goff, this is a legacy on the line here. It really is. This is the chance to win the last of the doubters over here and to show that he does belong in the conversation with some of the better quarterbacks in this league. So I'm just desperate. I'm desperate for him. I'm desperate for us. Like, he's been through a lot in his career. From college, from when he got to the NFL, from where he was dumped here with one of the worst teams in the league, and every time he's gotten back up and he's gotten to where he needs to be. So this is it. This is his crowning moment here. So this means everything to him. The staff, like I say, not as much. He's won his ring. The pressure's off. He could just come here, play his best ball, try and upset us, and I just pray to God that he doesn't.
Just to slightly correct, and Eric Kramer is still alive. The last Lions quarterback to win a playoff game in 1991. He is.
Sorry,
still
Eric. I apologize.
Way to go, Eric Kramer.
Peo, what do you think it means for Stafford?
Yeah, I really enjoy hearing both your perspectives on it, especially from the Goff narrative. I think that any pressure that would be on Stafford is internal pressure. I don't believe and I rarely listen to his wife Kelly's podcast, but I had to this week.
Yeah, probably for the best.
Every now and then she talks about some good stuff that's relevant, and she talked in detail about how she did not want the Rams to go to Detroit for the playoffs. She was hoping it would not happen, praying it wouldn't happen, but it did. And that night, Stafford looked up on the Detroit Lions websites if there were some suites still available that she and their kids could go to. And so she just talked about how she had all these people from Detroit reaching out to her, and how her and Matthew Stafford, they grew up there, right? He got drafted there, they got married there, they had their family there. And so obviously they have 12 years of emotion and relationships tied up there. And so I think from Stafford is in a pretty good headspace of he understands he doesn't expect to go in there and get a homecoming welcome back Matthew Stafford video like a lot of players would, because this is a playoff game. He expects to go in there and he expects Lions fans to cheer against him. And I think he's done a better job of isolating that than a lot of other Ram fans think that he has. But yeah, I definitely think it means a lot to Stafford personally. And I think he would love to go in there and win a playoff game in Detroit, even though he's on the Rams. I do not expect him to, if he were to lose this game, I don't think he was going to be happy, right? He's an NFL player. He's not going to be happy when he loses. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. We've been, as you said, the NFL script writers treated us to a good storyline here.
Go. Just want to thank Grandizer12 on YouTube
Grandizer
with the $20 in the tip jar. Thank you very much, Grandizer. Appreciate you for putting us together as well. That's much appreciated. Let's crack on with the Rams preview. Then we're going to look at the Rams in detail. We'll go overall, then offense and defense. Talk a little bit about the Giants game as the last game that the starters played. And then we take a couple of questions before signing off. So, let's get on with it. The Rams are 10-7. Pro Football Reference has them at 9.2 expected wins, so slightly over expectation. Their season so far started off with a win at Seattle, a loss to San Francisco and at Cincinnati, a win against Indianapolis, loss against Philadelphia, a win against Arizona, losses against Pittsburgh and at Dallas and at Green Bay, then a win against Seattle, at Arizona, versus Cleveland, punctuated by a loss at Baltimore in overtime, I think, and then a win versus Washington, versus New Orleans, at New York Giants, and at San Francisco to close out the season. So they won 6 of their last 7 games to get in the dance. Peo, we were talking just before we went on air about the crazy season you've had. A rebuilding team beat Seattle in the first game, obviously a really nice start against a team that was in the playoffs last year, and then proceeds to kind of get behind the chains before come roaring back. They are now the form team in the NFL.
Yeah, and I'll say this. So it's been a treat watching every Rams game this year. I don't think they've played a full game of 4 quarters of good football yet. And
Sounds like a Matthew Stafford team.
no, like, and Stafford has played lights out. Like Stafford, the very few like misses here and there. He's actually played very, very well. He hasn't fumbled the ball once this year. He's the only quarterback in the NFL who has 0 fumbles this year. And with this, the Rams defense and the Rams special teams, there's some question marks. It's been fun to watch them grow up because they are the second youngest team behind Green Bay in the NFL this year. And yeah, a couple of those games, like you can always make that argument. Like I think of the Bengals game, the Steelers game, and the Packers game. Rams should have won those games. They absolutely should have. There was 1 or 2 plays that didn't go their way, and so they ended up on the losing side of it. But no, they've been a really fun team. They almost beat the Ravens. They took them to overtime, and then it was a punt return that ultimately gave the Ravens the win. But no, they've been a lot of fun, especially later on in the year. We've kind of seen the Rams grow up right before our very eyes. And yeah, I'm excited for this game.
It's going to be a fun one, as you say. The betting on this, per Bet365, the Rams are 7-5. That's about plus 140. The Lions are 33-20 on. That's about minus 155. Lions are -3 on the spread. The over-under is 51.5 points. And I think the Lions over-under was the highest it had been in the NFL season against Dallas, and that was 52.5. So this is a very high over-under. The Vegas bookmakers are expecting points one way or the other. The injury reports are just coming out now, so I'm going to refresh and see whether the Lions official one has come out. It hasn't. I will have a look at Discord.
Tim Twentyman tweeted it.
Yeah, I've got it on Discord. So, the Lions on Thursday had Teddy Bridgewater taking a personal day. Otherwise, Jerry Jacobs, as we said, may not be with the team any longer, but he did not practice today and he was limited yesterday. Thursday, for the time of recording, if you're listening to this after the event. Sam Laporta and Khalif Raymond listed as no practice. Sam Laporta's reps, he got in after the actual practice, just individually. That's why he's listed as no practice today. The really big shock, especially considering Sam Laporta's status, is that James Mitchell was limited in practice today, which is a real hurt for us, given that Brock Wright has been out and is only just returning now. James Mitchell, the only healthy tight end we have. Ferks is on the practice squad again.
Ferks is on the practice squad, yeah.
It looks very likely he's going to be called up as the only healthy tight end we have. Otherwise, full practice for Brian Branch, John Kaminsky, Taylor Decker, Graham Glasgow, James Houston, Frank Ragnow, Cam Sutton, Jameson Williams, and Brock Wright. Turning to the Rams, I've not seen an update for them, but theirs is much shorter, with the only listed people from Wednesday. No practice for the guard Joe Noteboom, free safety Jordan Fuller, Troy Reader, the linebacker, and Rob Haverstein at the offensive tackle. Limited in practice, the guard Kevin Dotson and tight end Tyler Higbee. Looking at the Rams, they're remarkably healthy, with no one really of note on injured reserve, which is insane for this time in the year. And turning to the depth chart, let's run through that now. On offense, QB1, of course, as we've discussed, is Matthew Stafford, with Carson Wentz behind him, who started the game last week as part of the backup crew, and getting the big win against San Francisco.
That was really fun to watch, yeah.
Yeah, I bet. Running backs, Kyren Williams has been an absolute superstar this year. He's been one of the best running backs in the NFL in the last 7 or 8 weeks. Behind him, Ronnie Rivers, Royce Freeman, and Zach Evans. Wide receivers, Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, Demarcus Robinson, Tutu Atwell, Ben Skowronek, Tyler Johnson, and Austin Tramwell. Tight ends are Tyler Higbee, Davis Allen, Bryson Hopkins, and then the starting 5 on the offensive line, Joe Noteboom, Steve Avila, Brian Allen, Kevin Dotson, and Rob Haverstein. Behind them, Alaric Jackson, Coleman Shelton, Tremaine Antrim Jr., and Warren McClendon Jr., who are names that I've never said before, I'm pretty sure. On defense, they play in a base 4-3. The three down linemen are Jonah Williams, Kobe Turner, and Aaron Donald. They're backed up by Desjuan Johnson, Bobby Brown III, and Laryl Murchison. And then the outside linebackers, Byron Young and Michael Hoyt, backed up by Nick Hampton, O'Shawn Mathis, and Keir Thomas. Inside linebackers, Ernest Jones and Christian Roseboom, backed up by Troy Reader and Jake Hummel. And then the back four are Kello Witherspoon, who I'm a huge fan of, and Kobe Durant as the cornerbacks, Jordan Fuller and Quentin Lake as the safeties, backed up by Darian Kendrick, Russ Yeat, John Johnson III, Duke Shelley, Jason Turner II, and Jason Taylor II, and Trey Tomlinson. And then the kicker is Brett Mayer. Kicker has been a fun thing for the Rams this year. Punter Ethan Evans. Long snapper is Carson Tinker. Peo, looking at the Rams and looking at this rebuilding team that it is, how different is it to the Rams team which was threatening Super Bowl victories, really? Is it one cornerback, one away, basically?
You could make that argument. I would say, like, when the Rams made the Super Bowl run, they had a really good special teams. Matt Gay was our kicker. Johnny Hecker was our punter. And, like, right now, like, I could go on and on for, like, hours about just how horrible the Rams special teams have been this year. They are currently on pace to be, like, the fourth worst special teams unit in NFL history, which is not something you want to be part of. We lead the league in missed field goals. We have had technically 3 different kickers if you include the training camp stint with Tanner Brown, then Brett Maher, then he got cut. We got in Lucas Haverstick, then he got cut, and now we've brought back Brett Maher from earlier in the year. So special team, like, if the Rams lose because of special teams, that would not surprise me at all. Like I am. It's very easy for me to say the Lions have an advantage there, and so in that regards to, like, other kind of weaknesses about the Rams, they have given up the big play more than often than not at some point in the game. Like, they would have destroyed the Ravens if it wasn't for the Rams secondary getting burned. Just like they did a pretty good job containing Lamar Jackson, but like there was about 3 plays that the Ravens got them for these long, touchdown bombs. And playing a team like the Lions, who you got Raymond, you got Josh Reynolds, you got St. Brown. If Laporta's playing, you got him. Not to mention you got 2 dynamic running backs in Montgomery and Gibbs, who I am scared of. Like I coming into this game, the Lions offense is not the no-name Lions offense of 5 years ago, right? Like there are names on here that put genuine fear in defensive coordinators, sleep, right? So I'm excited to see how the Rams defense will approach this Lions offense. I think that, Kobe Turner and Byron Young have to have big games because I know the Lions respect Aaron Donald. And bad news for the Lions is Aaron Donald did get a rest week because he didn't play last week. And Aaron Donald in his news conference today confirmed that he feels the healthiest he has felt all year.
On the mic, I'm sure Penei Sewell will laugh in his face again, though. I look forward to that matchup immensely.
Yeah.
And some general thoughts on the Rams?
I mean, they've been an impressive team this year. Like at the start of the year, it was so hard to work them out. Like, you won the Super Bowl, and then you had last year when they were just destroyed with injuries and were nothing like the team they were before. And then we've sort of gone along this season, and they've not really been a team that stood out like to us just in the general sphere of things. They've almost gone under the radar in how they've gone about their business. But then, you've had the strong run of form at the end of the year, and they look really good right now. Like, even putting Carson Wentz and the backups out against San Fran to go there and win when you're behind by a fair bit and to come out on top of that shows big mental resilience. They're not just their first teamers, but the guys who are backing them up. Obviously, there's some incredibly talented players there. No more so than the quarterback, who we know very well, but like they've drafted out their minds, considering they don't usually have many draft picks, given that they all go to players there. Is it you'll be your first round pick in 9 years this year, isn't it? I believe. Is it 20? It was Goff, the last first round pick, wasn't it?
It was. Goff,
so,
and I think they're going to trade that pick. I'm not convinced they're going to pick it.
I was about to say, do you know what day one of the draft is anymore? Because it's just like there's just been no interest.
They're going to trade down. They're going to trade down and get more picks as opposed to trading for a player, I think.
Until they actually announce a Rams first round pick, I have no faith in this team making a first round pick. We're allergic to them, it seems.
But no, going on, it's like they've drafted out their minds recently. Like some of the guys you've landed on, like Kyron Williams, you've landed on, was like not really high on anyone's running back list when he came out of college. Of course, like Puka, who you've landed on, and it's so damn frustrating for me because I wanted him here so badly, and he's been an absolute revelation, even more so than I did. I was one of his biggest fans, and he's still surpassed anything you thought he was capable of. But like when you get genuine playmakers in like that, they just revitalize your team. They say when you had the run game last year, Henderson struggled a bit, and there was just no one who really took it out. Akers, of course, had his injuries. Now everything just runs so much more smoother. You've got a healthy offensive line there. You've got the playmakers and you've got the quarterback to do it. And then on the defense again, you've got studs at certain areas of your defense that just raise everybody else up and, make them good units. And they're coached well. I'll say they're coached well, apart from their special teams. But, outside of that, it's well coached. They've got good guys. They're getting younger, more great young players in there. You've got to respect them for the job they've done. That's a hard division to get out of. Like, still, the Seahawks are always a pain in the ass, as we know. Like, the 49ers are one of the best teams in the game at this moment in time. Even the Cardinals, they're not that bad now that Kyler's back. So you've got to be good to get out of there. You've got to be good to get in the playoffs from that scenario. So we can't underestimate them at all. And I am wary about some of these guys.
Ash?
Completely agree, and it makes sense that you've had to sort of turn around in late seasons because you said you've got 11 rookies who all made the team. It's going to take off into bed in. As soon as they do, you hit the ground running. Like I'm looking through, I even forgot, and this is a cardinal sin for me as an FSU fan. I forgot you guys had Keir Thomas, who no one will remember but me. He was the guy who bookended Jermaine Johnson II in his absolute tear. Like this is a guy who's very used to being on this kind of team that maybe is overlooked, doesn't really get to think, has to fight for reputation. He's used to that, and he's a backup guy. He's someone you can reliably fall back on if you need to. Wow. You're just loaded everywhere with
you forgot about him, Ash. There was you,
and you forgot about NC State star Eric Kramer, who won the ACC Player of the Year there.
From what year? What year?
1989.
There we go. That was
since
the year
you're born
in
1889, you should remember it, Ans.
Wow.
I think we should make a drinking game of how whenever Ash mentions FSU, everyone drinks.
No, we'd be dead. We'd be dead in 10 minutes. We'd be dead in 10 minutes. It's like doing the Collinsworth mentioning Mahomes one, dead in 10 minutes.
Yeah. Do we have Collinsworth on Sunday?
Yes, we do.
Yeah. So the sidearms.
So he's getting muted.
Exactly. If you don't want to listen to Collinsworth poor commentary, come and watch me at Matt.
I have a trivia question for you guys, actually. Okay, it's about the Lions, because I found this out and I was shocked. So Kyron Williams is the second running back that Matthew Stafford has had on his team to run for over 1,000 yards in a season. Can you guys remember who the other one is?
Yes, Reggie Bush. It must be. No?
Automatic. Well done.
Yeah. It's one of those things because we hadn't had because Stafford had been here for a long time and we hadn't had a 1,000-yard runner for a long time. He's the guy, even though he wasn't. He had one good year, and he's lauded by Lions fans as being like a savior of the team for some stretch. But he wasn't. He just had one really good year. But respect to him.
I just think it was funny because when that stat came out, Rams fans this year were like shocked of like, really? Like Reggie Bush is.
Oh, we sucked. Like,
Yeah.
let's make no. I don't even know what the word is. Yeah.
I watched the 2009 Rams. I know what it's like to have a team that sucks. I get it. I'm not one of those.
I mean, did you watch the 2008 Lions? I mean, it's only a year before.
Yeah, dude, they're pretty bad. Yeah, and actually, I guess the only team the 2009 Rams beat was because Steven Jackson willed a win was the Lions.
Yeah. There we go. Right, let's talk more about the Rams. Overall, PFF has this as the 10th ranked team. DVOA has them 17th. Offensively, both of them at 7th on both metrics. Defensively, 23rd per PFF, 22nd per DVOA. So despite the stars, as Peo has said, some questions about that defense. Matthew Stafford has had a good year, although by his standards, I would say the number of yards is lower than normal. 326 completions on 521 attempts, 62.6% completion rate, 3,965 yards. Of course, he missed a game, but he was breaking 5,000 yards in 2 games. There we go. Okay, that's probably it then. So missed 2 games. That's why he's short. 24 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, 92.5 passer rating, 63.7 QBR, PFF grade of 85.9. Kyren Williams, the lead back, 228 carries, 1,144 yards, and 12 touchdowns. That's 5.0 yards per attempt. And also 32 of 48 for 206 and 3 touchdowns in the air as well. PFF grade for him of 80.3. Cooper Kupp, he's dealt with a lot of injury this season, so his yards are way down, but you must account for him. 47 of 70 for 495 and 2 touchdowns. PFF grade of 72.4. Puka Nacua lit the league on fire this season as a rookie. We have the number 1 fan of his through the pre-draft processes, as Ash has said in Ant. 12 carries for 89 yards on the ground and 105 catches on 160 attempts his way. 1,486 yards, 6 touchdowns. PFF grade of 87.9. That's number 1 on the offense. Other good grades in there. The guard Kevin Dotson, amazing pickup by the Rams for basically a bag of chips. And tackle Rod Haverstein, 81.8. One poor grade to talk about, which is the left tackle Joe Noteboom, 52.9. So if you want to get pressure, go to the left-hand side of that line. Efficiency-wise, very good on offense, as you'd expect from a Lions and McVay-led offense. They are 8th on 3rd down, 4th on 4th down, and 4th in the red zone. Boys, I'll come to Ant first. Rams on offense, Stafford led, but Kyren has been just incredible. And then Puka and, the tight end there is pretty good too. It's going to be difficult to stop them.
Yeah, when both facets of your game run really well, then it just makes you a very dangerous offense. Like I say, he moves the chains, puts you in good positions to make plays. And then when you've got the receivers to go out there and do that, you're a very dangerous team. I say these two guys, Kupp and Nacua, can hit you anywhere, but they will also help with the run game. The offensive line picker, Avila, has been wonderful for them. I saw some tape that was done on him the other day in his run game work, and it's phenomenal. And all these guys, they've just created a great unit. Guys that will defend the run, they'll block for the run first, they'll get that going, and then they'll go out and make plays. So you've got to be prepared for them on both sides. You can shut them down one way and they'll hurt you the other, vice versa. So, yeah, as I say, just with the level of playmaker you've got, they're going to be very dangerous for us. However, having said that, we've been pretty good at stopping the run this year against even the best of teams so far, especially when we win. We're really good at that. So it's going to be absolutely vital first. You've got to beat this Rams team in the trenches first and foremost, and then impose your will on them. But, obviously it's easier said than done. So, yeah, there's not going to be an easy one for sure. But if there's a team that can do it, it is us.
Heyo. That offensive line has been the real thing which has turned around for the Rams compared to, I would say, the last couple of years. Steve Avila's come in. He's been very passable. Is he a rookie or is he a second-year player now? He's a rookie. Yeah. And then Dotson's been a great pickup. So the interior of that line has been really shorn up, and then Haverstein's having himself a season as well.
Yeah. So a lot of people forget, last year when the Rams were just so injury-plagued, In the 17 games, they had 14 different combinations of offensive linemen. And so like you're not gonna have. They had so many O linemen that were just like signed off of people's practice squads that started for them, just because they had to. So this year, the Rams did a really great job of getting healthy on the O line, and then also just drafting Steve Avila, trading for Kevin Dodson, and even like Joseph Noteboom and Allyric Jackson have been at left tackle. Allyric Jackson has had some injury issues, which is why Noteboom's been in there. But when Jackson's there, the O line is a lot better. Noteboom towards the end of the year, he's actually been playing pretty well. Noteboom he's one of those players that's really tough because you're cheering for him. They were grooming him to become the left tackle of the future to replace Andrew Whitworth, but injuries have just sort of derailed his career a little bit, and he's never really gotten to that level. And so Allyric Jackson actually beat him out for the left tackle position in camp. And then Noteboom's been kind of a swing offensive lineman. He's played in the interior. He's played at the left tackle position. So I'm curious to see how he does. There's worse left tackles in the NFL, but I do get nervous with him going up against like Aiden Hutchinson.
Ash, what do you make of this offense?
Yeah, it's really turned around. The thing that actually scares me most about it in terms of run game is you guys run a lot of outside zone, and we do a bit worse against that. Like, we've been good overall in terms of run, but because we obviously stack the box in a way and try and focus on the inside stuff, the gap power schemes, zone can sometimes get us. Like, look at last week. It weren't going up against the best running backs in the world, but Ty Chandler got decent clip against us. It's our weaker things. Obviously, stresses the linebackers, gets them going side to side. And while we've got Anzalone, Barnes, Campbell, and Rodrigo, who all have athleticism, they're better sort of going forwards and backwards a bit rather than laterally. So that could really stress us out if you get to the edges. We might cause some problems, though. On the other hand, our corners have been better against the run than they have against the pass. So maybe if you go too far to the edges, it might actually play in our favour, because Kildor-Vildor, who, again, we have the number one fan of in the world here, and leader and president of the Kildor-Vildor Appreciation Society, the reason he's been playing so well is because he's very good at crashing down on the outside zone runs, the screens and such. Against deep passes, we've seen it the past couple of weeks, most famously on the infamous 90-yard touchdown to CD Lamb that shouldn't have stood because there was a misholding, stumbles because the speed doesn't catch up. So it really will be a case of, if you can set up that outside zone early and the corners having to focus on that, and so the linebackers, you can sneak Puka and Cup and Higbee and Davis Allen, who again was someone I liked in the draft coming out for Clemson. You can sneak those up and sort of play on us coming forward for the run, and then sneak stuff over them, deal, sneak stuff over the top where we can get hit deep, because unfortunately for us, we are one of the worst teams at giving up explosive passes. Like, I think, both teams I've read that we're both in like the bottom 5 for giving up explosive plays in the past game. So that's probably something we're going to have to watch, is if you can set up that outside zone early and get the corners thinking of that, you can hit us over the top, and it might just become a barnstorm for a game like you guys had against the Chiefs when Goff was obviously there, where it's just touchdown after touchdown. It's whoever fumbles the ball, throws an interception, and gives the other team a chance to score again, might lose the game.
Sounds like Lions-Vikings at the end of the game.
Yeah.
As basically you're saying there. All right, let's move on to the defense, and you are led in tackles by the inside linebacker Ernest Jones. 6 passes defended, 4.5 sacks, 145 tackles, 14 tackles for loss, 6 quarterback hits, PFF grade of 82.1, which is one of the highest grades I've ever seen that we've played against for an inside linebacker this season. Nose tackle Kobe Turner is the sack leader. 2 passes defended, 9 sacks, 57 tackles, 8 tackles for loss, 16 quarterback hits, and a PFF grade of 83.8. Of course, you've got to account for Aaron Donald as well. I mean, the only reason he's not the sack leader is maybe because he took the day off. 3 passes defended, 8 sacks, 53 tackles, 16 tackles for loss, 23 quarterback hits, and a team-leading PFF grade of 90.9. Akello Witherspoon is the leading pass defender with 3 interceptions, 14 passes defended, 2 fumble recoveries, 52 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, and a PFF grade of 64.3. And the safety Jordan Fuller has to be accounted for back there too. 3 interceptions, 8 passes defended, 3 forced fumbles, 94 tackles, a tackle for a loss, and a PFF grade of 67.9. Other good grades on defense, defensive tackle Brown, the third for 72 grade, and the cornerback Lake, 71.2. Poor grades in there. Inside linebacker Roseboom. That's his name, Christian Roseboom, isn't it? 49. Jonah Williams, 55.6 the defensive tackle. John Johnson, the third, 55.8. In terms of efficiency, they're 18th on third down, 22nd on fourth down, and 15th in the red zone. So about middle of the pack in terms of efficiency, which kind of just means that the rankings can be all over the place because they're sort of just your average team, but they're not an average team, Peo, because they follow the philosophy of have a few stars and fill out the rest of your roster. And despite trading away your star cornerback, you've kind of continued in that, but you've picked up some fantastic players. And I know Akello Witherspoon in the Giants game got burned for a big touchdown that never should have been. But other than that, I feel like he's had a terrific season. And then you have a look at the rest of the guys in there, especially up front, like Kobe Turner, but also Hoyt has had a terrific season. Byron Young's been fantastic. Aaron Donald's obviously great, but up front, you've just picked up guys who've been fantastic.
Yeah, and I want to shout out Ernest Jones, who you mentioned off the top of that. Is he actually broke the Rams' most tackles in a single season record in their franchise history, breaking James Laurinaitis' record, which is really, really impressive. And I'll say this: Akello Witherspoon has definitely been a fantastic free agent pickup for the Rams this year. And the Rams secondary, though it's ranked low, I would say it's played better the latter part of the season. Still very much like an area this team needs to address and improve on in the offseason. And I always say you can improve a position group either developing talent, drafting talent, trading for talent, or signing new talent. This is still very young secondary. Akello Witherspoon was signing talent for this group this year, and that's definitely been a good move for them. Every Rams fan, the most frustrating player that they would say right now is our defensive back, Darian Kendrick. And he's been known for getting burnt. He's someone who likes to take risks, and often this year those risks have not paid off for the Rams, which is very frustrating. But this latter part of the year, they have been able to generate turnovers a little bit more consistently. It was very rare for them to get through the first 10 weeks. I think the Rams had the lowest amount of turnovers in the NFL, but since then they've kind of come into a middle of the road team in terms of generating turnovers. So yeah, this defense, they have some players that can definitely make some plays, like Aaron Donald and Byron Young, Kobe Turner, Akello Witherspoon, Ernest Jones, Michael Hoyt, Canadian. Shout out Michael Hoyt. But they also have a lot of guys who are still developing and learning how to be consistent NFL caliber players. And so that's kind of where this defense is at. They've been fun to watch, grow up before a very eyes all season. And I'm hoping that they're able to put a good game in Detroit together.
What about the rest of you guys? What do you make of this defense?
I like it. It's, as you say, it's got the star talent, obviously, with Donald, developed talent, drafted talent to Kobe Turner, Byron Young, Nick Hampton out of App State. And it developed talent, and it's better than the sum of its parts. And maybe that comes down to the coach, Raheem Morris, who obviously people might know from Atlanta, great leader of men. He's kind of that sort of, I should remember his name because he's one of my favorite coaches, the 49ers DC, who's getting head coaching gigs, interviews again. Yeah, Steve Wilkes, yeah. That kind of guy where he knows how to create defenses well, that are aggressive, and just are best of some of their parts. We saw what Wilkes did with the Panthers, for example, where he came in and studied them. Morris is kind of like that, where he's come into a kind of shitty situation. Obviously, like Brandon Staley go and be the Chargers head coach and sort of take that scheme, and then you start losing to star power. Morris has sort of come in, and it's been a completely different since usually what he usually runs. He's usually an even front guy, but he steadied the ship, started developing their talents. Like Kobe Turner, as much as I loved him, bit undersized coming into the league, didn't know really he was going to play, and he's actually hit the ground running. Nick Hampton, someone we brought the Lions themselves brought in for a pre-draft visit last year. We were thinking of converting him into an inside linebacker, a la Derek Barnes for us, which kind of went well, or going back even further, maybe would have how it would have went, considering how Hampton's played this year, a la Hassan Reddick with the Cardinals. You've managed to develop him into a really good sort of backup edge, Sean Mathis as well. It's just a good a combination of those four methods of getting better in talent, combined all on this defense, obviously led by an all-generational star in Donald, who is obviously maybe not hit the heights he usually does, but that's okay because it hasn't really fallen apart for you guys because other people have stepped up. It's sort of stopped being the Aaron Donald show, and rather he's just the leader of a great orchestra with obviously the conductor right next to him and Kobe Turner.
And what do you think?
Well, it's a defense of two parts, isn't it? It's really good generally when it comes to playing against the run. Kept a lot of teams quiet, but it can be passed on, and it's very vulnerable. And some very bog standard passers have put a lot of yards down on them this year, and that's where the weakness obviously is with it. You go through the air against them, but you've got to get through that defensive line first. If you can hold up against those front four, then you give yourself a good opportunity to go make plays down the field. But again, if you can't get that going and you've got to run it, then you're going to struggle against them. And we've seen a lot of teams get shut out just because they've not really been able to get going at all, and they just disrupt you and stop you from playing. So again, you sort of look at this, and it's a matchup that you would like for us, because obviously we love to run the ball. If you can run the ball, you can keep those pass rushers out your backfield because they've got some very good pass rushers. And if you can keep them quiet, and then you can unleash on that secondary and you can have a good go at it. So you've just got to try and not get brought down into their game. Like if you have to really fight out in those trenches there and you're not able to air it out, then you're going to struggle a lot against them. So again, like I say, you've got to respect them. But the matchup, I think, it is a good one for us. I think we do have the capabilities to get around him.
I just want to talk a little about the Giants game. As I said, it's the last one that had the starters in, so I found it the most relevant conversation. And just to start off, I think the Rams should have lost this game. Like,
they totally should have lost.
Like, they look really good as well, the Rams. It's not like they look bad, but just the mistakes.
It was one of their worst games of the year, to be honest. There was just a lot of bonehead mistakes. And not just, like, the Rams played, like, at times they played really good, but they had a lot of bonehead mistakes. But the Giants just would not win that game.
Yeah, and Tyrod looked good as well. It wasn't that Tyrod was playing, but like Tyrod had several runs for like 30 yards, which were called back by holding penalties, and just like shooting yourself in the foot. It was awful. But just in terms of tendency breakers, obviously the Giants with Wink Martindale calling the defense, you knew that they were going to be very blitz heavy. So Stafford starting the drive with 4 passes, 2 straight passes with just one-step dropbacks and throw less than a second to go before getting the ball out of his hands. So it was interesting to see how the game script started out, because I feel like we could see something similar against us. Through 4 times to start the game, the offensive line, I think, started to look like it was struggling against the Giants' front to begin with. There were lots of play-action screens. I saw lots of, not unlike what we do with Goff, and I think it's a hangover of what Goff used to do in LA, and the fact that we've collaboratively come up with him to try and do what he feels comfortable in. So play action, tight end screens, running back screens, wide receiver screens seemed to be a really big thing that they were doing. And I don't know if that was matchup related, because obviously you want to get the ball out of the quarterback's hands against the Giants. But they seemed to struggle against blitzes all day. And I mean, there was 2 sacks by Okereke, who just, it was really well designed by the Giants in terms of the blitz itself, but completely unblocked, just coming up for the sack. So I'd love to see the Lions coming in with something similar where they're misdirecting where the pressure is coming from. Can Glenn do it? Not sure about that. Stafford had 2 picks on the day. And both were just bad throws. One was overthrown and picked by Belton. Another one was thrown behind the receiver and picked by Belton. It's just, you'd love to have those back, but I don't think that's a repeatable thing for Stafford. There was also a forced fumble, which Dory Jackson forced with a Tillman punch on DeMarcus Robinson. Otherwise, the Rams seem plagued by drops all day, and I think that's actually been a feature of the Rams all season, to be honest, that they've been a victim of drops, not unlike any other team in the league, I'm sure, but it seemed to especially be a thing here. And then the other thing was just, when you were running Kyron, it seemed like your run blocking seems a lot better than your pass blocking, and I don't know whether that's borne out by your experience. Peo, what do you think?
I'd say game to game. Consistently, the run blocking has definitely been better, but there has been some amazing performances by this O-line in the passing game this year. But I want to make sure that the Rams also missed 2 extra points and a field goal in this game as well. So I just please, friendly reminder: our special teams struggle.
Yes, special teams struggle. It's interesting. I was going to mention that in just a second, as well as the Giants missing an extra point and then encroachment on defense for the Rams on the extra point to tie the game, allowing the Giants to go for 2 and then having a layup to score 2 and missing it. Like, oh my God. On defense, just Donald, Turner, Hoyt and Young causing huge issues all day. They were caught out by a wide receiver reverse by Wan'Dale Robinson for a touchdown, which was basically the same play that Jameson Williams ran earlier in the year where he turned into Super J-Mo. So if I was the Rams defense, I would be keying in looking for that play, because I'm pretty sure the Lions are going to try and replicate that, so have a look out for it. Turner was unplayable. I think he had 3 sacks on the day, maybe 2.5, but incredible stint by him. Interception by Fuller in the 2-minute drill, just a safety help over the top, and he read the throw perfectly. One thing about Kobe up front that was especially true in this game, and I don't know whether it's been a thing all the way through, is that you have the other defensive tackle that's not Donald crashing into Kobe's guy and really trying to push his guy into Kobe's guy, so it effectively creates a pick for Kobe to come around the edge. And that was successful all day in this particular game. Is it something that you've seen all year, that they're trying to get Kobe available in space, or kind of almost scheming him open as a pass rusher from the interior?
That's hard to tell, because again, like I can't stress this enough. Kobe Turner earlier in the year was like, okay, this guy looks good, but like not like superstar. And then something happened after the bye week where Kobe Turner just turned into this monster. So I don't know if that was Raheem Morris and the defensive coaching staff being like, hey, you know what? We have to scheme a little bit more for it. So all year, I guess I can't say I've seen it, but it definitely on this latter part of the season, he's been phenomenal.
Otherwise, what do we have? We had Hyatt had a big catch where he bodied Kobe Durant, but it was set back by a holding penalty, much like a lot of big plays for the Giants. They struggled to contain Tyrod with his legs. Big run late to get the Giants into field goal range, which they ended up missing because from a 52-yarder, they ran it and it turned into a 54-yarder for Mason fucking Crosby. What are you doing? That was really frustrating. Of course, the Lions aren't going to be threatening the Giants with the quarterback's legs unless a certain backup quarterback for the Lions was not practicing this week and suddenly Hendon Hooker is QB2, which I'm just throwing out there as a possibility. Because Teddy Bridgewater had a personal no practice today, and no one knows, as far as I know, why he had a personal day in a playoff week.
That's really interesting. Huh?
It's really weird. So if Hendon Hooker is QB2, I want to package for him as someone who can burn them with his legs. Even being the running back on a play, taking a handoff, I would love to see some trickery there, because Hendon has got the speed and he can also throw it if you want to throw that trickery in there too. Yes, so special teams. Ben Skowronek blocked a field goal attempt and the flag was thrown on him, but on the replay, On the replay, I didn't see him touch anyone.
So frustrating. It was perfectly timed, and yeah,
They botched the
refs.
call.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're allowed to jump over the line if you don't touch anyone, which is the most bullshit rule I know. Like, why does touching anyone make a difference? I don't understand. But he didn't touch anyone and he got flagged anyway. As you say, you missed 2 extra points and a field goal, but the kicker was cut after the game. Giants also missed an extra point and then missed a 2-pointer. And you also gave up a punt return touchdown of 94 yards, which was a heck of a play by the Giants. And I don't think that's indicative of you being bad in punt return.
There was a missed. You could argue there was a missed holding call on that play, but yes.
So that's the review of the most recent relevant game, at least. So let's talk key matchups, and we've kind of hashed this a little bit already. But sorry,
I was supposed to say, before you do, obviously you mentioned the Giants game, but obviously you watch these guys every week, but going back to the Super Bowl that they won, it's felt like most weeks in the Super Bowl they were there, they'd get leads and then they'd struggle to put the games away. And then you watch them this year and against the Commanders, they had a big lead, struggled to put the game away. Against the Giants, big lead. They seem to get to these big leads, but then they don't seem to know how to put games away. And that seems to have been something that is going on through the years. Is there something specific that's driving that? Because, like, say this Giants game was there to be put away. The Commanders were there to be put away. And for as long as I've been watching them back to there now, it seems to have been an issue. Is that something specific you've noticed? Is there anything driving that?
That's very astute of you. And yeah, it's definitely noticeable. In a lot of the Rams wins, they'll like blow out a team, win the game in the third quarter, but then in the fourth quarter, the other team has like an opportunity to like make the game look closer than it is, and in some cases, steal the game. It's tough to say. Some of it, I definitely think, is at times Sean McVay in his play calling can get quite conservative when he has the lead, and there's an element to like, okay, you have a 2-score lead in the fourth quarter and you have the ball. You just want to, milk as much clock as possible, right? And if you get if your offense goes 3 and out and then your defense, gives up a big play or a long drive and all of a sudden it's a 1-score game, well, the whole game is different now, right? And so that's definitely been, something that's been noticeable, and I'm hoping that we don't continue to play that way. A criticism of the Rams, and earlier, Matthew, you mentioned that the Rams they've kind of been a quiet team this year, and I think part of the reason it's quiet is they really haven't blown anyone out. If you look at their scoreboard, right? But like that Commanders game, the Rams won it convincingly. Like the score is a little deceptive where like the Rams outplayed the Commanders, right? And so there's been a couple of other games like that, like the game against the Cardinals. Both game against the Cardinals were probably closer than what they could have been. So yeah, I don't know exactly why that is, but it's definitely kind of been a signature of the Rams the past couple of seasons. But great question.
I only say that because like our speciality is fourth quarters, so it's kind of it just seems odd how they look so good for so long and then it just the momentum goes. Because I remember during the Super Bowl run, it was like it felt like they were trying to give games away. Some weeks they were just giving possession after possession after possession. You're like, just kill it, just one good possession and you can kill it. And then the games I've seen this year, I'm like, I feel like the same. I feel like I'm just saying go and kill it, and they don't go and kill it.
And if for some reason that's the formula to getting, your team, it might have something to do with like getting your team out healthy, right? And the Rams have been accused of being soft at times. I don't expect that. Like I expect the Rams to play differently in the playoffs. And even like Aaron Donald, he talked about in his press conference today, he's like, I made sure everyone on the defense knows you have to play every snap like it's your last snap in the playoffs. It's a different intensity, different level. And yeah, I'm hoping that if the Rams are able to get a lead, they keep it the whole game. And I don't think that's going to be how this game goes. I truly believe this is going to be a higher scoring game. We're going to see some points, and I I think it's going to come down to who has the ball last.
Let's come on to key matchups. And I mentioned it earlier, but I just want to talk Aaron Donald versus Penei Sewell because they had the kind of bust up the last time they played with Aaron grabbing Sewell's face mask and Sewell laughing in his face. It's something which I don't think is just a one-off. I do expect there to be some sort of an adversarial thing going on there because they are two alpha dogs who feel like they're the meanest motherfucker on the pitch. So are you guys expecting fireworks there? Because Donald in a 3-4 formation, if they play base, is going to line up outside or inside of Sewell, potentially. So you're going to see that a lot. Maybe. It depends whether he ends up as left defensive tackle, right defensive tackle.
They move him around. They move him around.
So
to be honest, they're probably going to put him on our left-hand side, aren't they? Looking at how our offensive line is these days.
Well, against Jonah and Decker.
And Decker, yeah, because Jonah hasn't been having the best of seasons. Decker, he's good, but can he handle the speed and power of Donald? Like, I've watched Donald a lot because one of his signature moves is a sort of ripsism move, which is really, for someone who's supposed to be that powerful, he's so quick with his arms. I think that can get Decker as well. Like, Decker's been vulnerable on his inside shoulder as well. So if I'm Morris and McVeigh, if I want to win the game, I'm lining Donald mostly up against Jonah and Decker, which is sad because obviously we want to see the Donald-Sewell battle again, like we wanted to see Hutch versus Worth when we played the Bucks earlier and early in the season. Sometimes as much as it would be great TV to watch, you've got a game plan to win in the foot. So we might get a couple of snaps of it, in which case I will be trapped to my tablet watching it. But I think for the most part, unfortunately, it's going to be Donald just absolutely tearing Jonah Jackson a new one.
But okay, let's turn our attention to different sides of the ball then. So Rams run offense versus Lions run defense. And Lions run defense has been one of the best in the NFL. I think we're total second or third in the league in terms of run defense. I think there's only been a couple of 100-yard rushing games in there against us. But the Rams' run offense since week 12 has been top 3 in the NFL, and Kyren Williams has been lighting the house on fire. You know, it's his house right now. So can the Lions stop Kyren Williams?
I believe so. And again, you just sort of have to look this year because we've come up against some very good run offenses this year. And for the most part, as you say, we've dealt with them. We've dealt with some of the best in the league, and it helps now that we have our centerpiece back in the middle of the line helping out. Like, having a lean back was blatantly noticeable the other day. He had several tackles for loss blowing up the interior there, and the guys feed off it. Like, Pascal's beginning to play well as well. And I said we have problems when they go out to the edge. Yeah, we do, but more of those guys on the edge are starting to come and make plays against this now because they're fully healthy. They've got the guys they can rotate in, and we've got the linebackers to come up and help as well. We're starting to blitz the linebackers against the run as well as the passer. So I believe there's a way that I believe that we can stop them. I mean, obviously, any given day, he is good, and that offensive line is good, and you may struggle against it. But I've watched this team all year. And I've watched them turn away most everybody who's come up against them. Teams have had to get creative against us in their run game, or they've had to establish the pass first so that we lighten the box up a little bit and start trying to protect the secondary and then run it on us. So it just depends. I mean, Sean McVay is an offensive genius. I've got no doubt that he's got something planned to get that run game going. But I believe in the interior. I believe they can do their job. But you're right. It's very key. If you can stop them and you can put Staff under pressure, like, I know people say Staff's great under pressure. He is, but he also makes mistakes under pressure as well. That's where you start getting the picks. That's where you start forcing the errors out of him, which will turn the game for us. So I think we've got it for me. I do.
Hey, let me read you out some of the Lions' run defense stats. So the Lions have conceded 100 yards on the ground 5 times this year. The first and third were against the Chicago Bears with Justin Fields. Second was against the Baltimore Ravens with Lamar Jackson. 146 for them, 183, 142 for the Bears. Then you got 113 for the Saints, 109 for the Packers, and everyone else was under 100 yards. So Saints, I mean, Carr's mobile, but not that mobile. And Packers loves fairly mobile. So you can clearly see where our weakness is. And I don't think that's an issue with Matthew Stafford, and we know that very well. He is a quarterback who will take the yards when they're there to take, but he's not going to go rushing of his own accord. So when it comes to the run game, we've done well against teams that don't have a quarterback like that. Do you feel that Kyren Williams is the guy to get it done in that scenario, given that fact?
I think that Kyren Williams combined with Ronnie Rivers are the backs to get that done. Good change of pace back in Ronnie Rivers. And also, the Rams' run game is also extended in their, again, you'll see almost every play, if not every play, a receivers or a tight end go in motion. And it's always to have that threat of a sweep, right? And, similar to what you would do with Jameson Williams, the Rams will do that with any one of their wide receivers. And so it's the Rams, zone run scheme is unique in the sense of it operates a lot in trying to get the defense to be misdirected to one side or the other side, and then either go the other way or go that way, and there's schemed blockers there in order to generate a push. So I'm excited to see. It's going to be a big challenge for the Rams in this run game, but they ran the ball really well against Baltimore and in Cleveland, who are two of the better run defenses in the NFL. And so I'm optimistic that Kyren Williams and Ronnie Rivers will be able to get some yards in this game. And Kyren Williams in the red zone has been just lights out this year. And sometimes people forget that he got injured, I believe, week 3 against Arizona, and then he came back week 12 from injury against Arizona, and that's when the Rams offense really took off. And I'm just so thankful for the development he's had here in his second year.
Ash, what do you think? Who's got the advantage here?
We do just about. So obviously, of those teams you named as well, to go back to them, 4 out of 5 use the outside zone scheme. Admittedly, we faced them all in a space of stretch of 4 weeks. With so maybe it was just a combination of injuries and just constantly going up against it. We just had a bad day, but suddenly we turned it around, because then obviously we play then we play Denver. Denver only give up 83. Then we come up against Minnesota, obviously head coached by the former Rams offensive coordinator Kevin O'Connell, and we only give up 17 yards on the ground. Obviously, last week we come up against them again, 89, so maybe they found some things out. But we have shown over the last 4 or 5 games of the season an ability to adapt to the outside zone. As Ant says, Pascal coming on really helps on the edge because he's a really good run stopper. Really sets that opposite edge against Hudge, which makes it easy for the linebackers and the corners to do their thing on those kind of things. So I can probably see Kyren probably getting the same kind of yardage Ty Chandler did. But if the game goes how quite a lot of us probably think it will, where because the explosive play is given up, as we'll get to in a second, it might turn into shootout. Both teams might, we might have to abandon the run game, and then that's all they'll get. They'll probably get about 80 yards. So will we. It's just a matter of maybe who can have that ball last to scored and then just run down the clock.
Right, the other side of the offense for the Rams, their passing offense, their receivers, their quarterback against the Lions, back 7. So you're looking at Stafford throwing to Kyren Williams out of the backfield, as well as Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. But Demarcus Robinson still looks like a live wire back there, and Tutu Atwell is still a second-round pick who can do things. And Skowronek will appear when you least expect him. That's all I can say about Skowronek is you'll forget about him, and then he'll hit you in the face. And I'm like, oh, you're still here. Okay.
Scope out for a reason.
Yeah, he's fun. I'd love to have him on our team. I think he's the best.
He's on the practice squad.
Well, yeah. Yeah, I know. But he's not on our team, though, so.
True.
Anyway, And the Lions' back seven, I mean, they have been burned, as Ash said earlier, for explosive plays time after time. They have given up over 300 passing yards in each of the last 3 games. And yet, Ash, I'll come back to you first. The Lions' pass defense has also tightened up in the down-to-down aspect of what's been going on. The explosive plays have been hitting more often, but with increased pressure up front, the Lions have been getting takeaways and they've been getting lots of pass breakups. So it's a live by the sword, die by the sword situation, and they've started, doing that. So it's on a knife edge, but this is one of the better offenses on a head of steam right now. So who's got the advantage here?
The Rams do. And I'm going to say my catchphrase. I say it at least once a show, don't I? I'd rather be in a 3rd and 6 or 3rd and 4, whatever, 3rd and short than a 3rd and long. Because for some reason...
Do you mean that the other way around?
Yeah.
Oh, you want to be in 3rd and short? Sorry, yeah.
I want to be in 3rd and short, yeah. Because whenever we get into 3rd and long, the team's span skips. That's when the big plays happen. Like, look at last week. 3rd and 30... we give up a massive play to Johnny Munt.
Right.
Like, what? For some reason, we're good on 1st and 2nd down. We can stop the short passes underneath. We get a sack or something, get them behind the sticks. 3rd and long, we're like, okay, here it comes. We might get a chance to get off the field, 3 and out. Nope. 40-yard pass to Justin Jefferson, that kind of thing. So it really will come down to us living behind the sword. We need to get more of those takeaways with the pressure and that. Then we give up the big plays because unlike the past couple of weeks where, we've given up a lot to Justin Jefferson and CD Lamb back-to-back, like CD Lamb setting career high and Dallas Cowboys record for receiving yards in a game. We managed to hold everyone else in check because the Cowboys, they had Brandon Cooks and Jake Ferguson, managed to hold them in check. First time against Vikings, TJ Hockenson, Jordan Addison, managed to keep in check. KJ Osborne got a bit of play against us. Last week, just Jefferson again, but everyone else got held in check for the most part. We can't do that against you guys. You've got another outside receiver who can, you've got Poole who can do the same things as Cup. You've got guys in the tight end with Higbee and Davis Allen who can do things. Kyron Williams at the backfield. It's just too much for us to be able to hold in check. If we just focus on Cup, Puka's going to get free. It's just going to be impossible. So we have to focus down and actually guard well. If we doubling one player, we've actually got to do it because that's been another symptom the past couple of weeks. Is we bring in Iffy in, who's just getting used to being a safety. It's his 2nd year doing it in the league after being a corner in the first, playing for college in the 1st year. Kirby, who I love him to death. I'm the president of his fan club. When we go to Detroit next year, we've got the new unis. I'm guessing his jersey. He's a very much definition of live by the sword, die by the sword. He's either getting a spectacular interception or he's giving up the big play because he's gambled. CJ GJ just coming back off a torn pec. He's not maybe fully not up to game speed. I know we got the interception last week and he's saying, don't want more interceptions. We've got 2 more banners to hang and he's got those ugly, disgusting Florida Gators cleats he's going to be wearing on Sunday. Can he do it? It's very much going to be a case of can the safeties actually help the corners because Cam Sutton, while he's a guy who you said earlier, we developed a little bit of talent. We signed him to improve our corner room. So obviously you guys got a Witherspoon from the Steelers. We got Sutton. Witherspoon's turned out to be the better signing because Sutton, again, great cornerback too, but can't hang with the wide receiver ones. He's going to feasibly have to go up against 2 wide receiver ones this week with Cup and Puka. So can he hold it down? Can Kendall Field or Khalil Dorsey, Will Harris do stuff to help? Because we can't let you guys get the big plays because otherwise it will turn to a shootout. And again, whoever gets the ball last, we don't want that. We want to be able to control the tempo of the game, use our run game, use our dominance in the trenches, and it turn into a shootout. Just won't let that happen to us.
And what do you make of this matchup? Because I think you talked about needing to win in the trenches, but I think this might be the one. If the Rams can really dominate in their passing offense against our pass defense, which has given up so many explosive plays recently, that could be it. But we've dialed up a lot of pressure, and that's caused a lot of stress on quarterbacks, and that has generated turnovers. So for the yards we've given up, we've also put ourselves in good positions too. So it's a bit of give and take.
That's why we've got to win at the trenches, because they can kick our ass in this matchup. And I do genuinely believe that. Again, you look at the kind of receiver or the kind of offensive weapons they've drafted. Like Davis Allen comes from Clemson. You've got to be very physical. You've got to be very dominant there. Puka, you come from BYU. You've got to be very dominant. Again, very physical. You're blocking all these aspects. You've got Higbee in there. You've got Cup in there. Again, small school guy, you have to prove yourself. You have to do all the dirty work. And coming up against our secondary, our corners especially, like they've been disappointing. Let's say it quite frankly. Cam Sutton's been he's not at embarrassment level yet, but he's not been great. And he's meant to be the senior guy in there. Of course, we've never had Mosley, but we're cycling through guys left, right, and center. And if you've got these guys fighting for targets, you've got these guys having to get physical with them, they're more dominant than we are. That's the sort of players that they have. So I don't like it, which is why, winning the trenches is so vital for us. You've stopped them running it, then you can stop putting them in situations. Because if they're getting second shorts, third and shorts, they'll beat our guys off the line of scrimmage. Like, they'll outmuscle them, they'll get those yards they need to, and we'll be in a lot of bother. So I don't like the matchup, quite frankly, because as I say, I really admire the receivers they've got. And I've just watched Jordan Addison destroy Cam Sutton. I've watched Cam Sutton get destroyed 2 weeks in a row now. He's given up 260 yards and a touchdown on 17 receptions. He's been targeted 19 times. The dude's getting rinsed for breakfast. Kindle is struggling. Like, it's not his fault either. He's been left on an island to it because the safeties don't have a clue what they're doing because they're not communicating with one another. And like, what is the really smart thing that Cup and Nakura and that do? They're very smart in finding the gaps, finding the space in the coverage. And if our guys can't talk to one another, they'll find that space. So I honestly don't like this at all. If it becomes a passing affair for them, like you just move it, passing it through the air, we're going to be in a lot of bother. So again, that's why we've got to win the line of scrimmage, force them back and put them in situations where the guys can hold up long enough. I say maintain the aggressive approach for us. As far as Nick Mullins has passed for 800 yards on us in 2 games, we've won both games. Like, I don't care that we've given up all those air yards. Like, the pressure creates turnovers. Turnovers win games. Them not running the ball means they can't get time of possession on the clock and they'll get tired out eventually. You wear them down that way. Like, because that's the advantage of coming up against a passing team. They'll not have the ball that long because they'll just come and score. And we have the ability to go down the other way. But I don't like the matchup at all. Like, if that's a big win for them, we're in a lot of bother.
I mean, it sounds like you're just talking Stafford ball to me. My lasting memories of Stafford, fourth quarter comebacks and throwing pick sixes to edges. Those are my 2 lasting memories.
Yeah. But where did he throw most of his picks that made us infuriated? Is when they were getting pressured. Teams would just unload on him. And that was when the pressure would come. So, especially like, again, 2 stuffed runs, 3rd and 11, 3rd and 12, he's toast. Like, that is what used to be the case for us so many times. That's why we've got to do that. Not give Nakua and Cup time to develop their routes, to be able to find that gap. You've just got to get straight after him and put him in bother. So, yeah, that's the thing with him.
Peo, what do you make of this? Do you concur with the guys? I mean, it sounds like we're thinking Rams have a big advantage here, potentially.
Yeah, I don't think at any point this year I've thought, oh, the Rams passing game was off today. They've had some like quarters or moments where, okay, Stafford wants that throwback or something like that. But there hasn't been a game where I thought maybe the Rams need to consider moving on from Stafford. No, Stafford is the Rams quarterback. Like, as long as he keeps playing at the level that he's been playing at, which is a very high level this year, I'm so glad that Stafford is the Rams quarterback right now. And I'll be honest with you guys, I'm really excited to see Cooper Kupp. He's been battling injury all year. Shameless plug, Cooper Kupp is my current favorite player on the Rams. It's been tough because people have been trash talking him this year, even though he's been playing through injury. He's still such a phenomenal receiver. I'm so glad that they sat him last week to get him 2 weeks of rest. And I am, Puka rightfully so will command a certain amount of attention, but I can't help but think, Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp in the playoffs 2 years ago had a historic quarterback to wide receiver run. I would love to see that duel come back and light up the scoreboard starting in this game. And so yeah, I'm excited to see it. On that same note, like I'm nervous with Goff and his arsenal of weapons. St. Brown, Raymond, Reynolds, Laporta. Like no joke. I think any one of those players can take over a game for the Lions as well, and I fully respect that. So, which is why, again, I think it's going to be a game we see some points.
Points definitely sound like the order of the day. Let's go over to the Lions offense and the Lions run offense in particular. The Rams rushing defense. Let me have a look and see how they've done in terms of total yards against. So, rushing yards against. In the last 5 games, 139 against Baltimore, 79 against Washington, 35 against the Saints, 105 against the Giants, and then 125 for the backups against the 49ers. I mean, in all, since the bye week, they've been very stout. Going back a bit further, 87 against the Browns, 73 against the Cardinals, 68 against the Seahawks. So, boys, the Rams' front 7 are stout against the run. I mean, the Browns love to run the ball. We know that. We know the Seahawks have invested massively in the run game. They got 68 yards. The Saints have obviously got Kamara. They had 35 yards. The Giants had Barkley, and they only got 105 yards. And I don't think you can read anything into the backups in San Francisco. But we have one of the premier rushing offenses in the NFL, 2 legitimate running back ones, great run blocking offensive line. This is, to me, strength on strength. So, let me go to Peo first for this one. What do you make of this particular matchup?
Yeah, with this Rams defense, I just don't know. We do pretty well against the run. However, if I'm thinking through this year, I don't know if we faced a true, thunder and lightning combo backfield with Montgomery and Gibbs. That's something that definitely, I'm concerned about. I'm not super concerned about them, running up the gut, in the middle of the field, but it's bouncing to the outside, and especially Jahmyr Gibbs. When he gets to the outside and he makes that first defender miss, if that second defender doesn't tackle him, it's going to be a big play. And like at least a first down, if not more. And so, coming into this game, I'm nervous. A healthy degree of nervous.
What do you think?
This is the time where I turn into a complete homer, so I apologize for this here, but
No.
I back our offense against anybody.
Okay.
And I back them against anybody because the amount of weapons that we have here now and the ability for us to change to a game situation. So I know Laporta might not be fully fit and ready to go, but you look at the last game against the Vikings, we didn't really need to run the ball in that one. We saw nothing of Jahmyr Gibbs apart from his touchdown, but we didn't need to because Amon-Ra had a 150-yard game and was absolutely fantastic. But then you look in weeks prior, Jahmyr Gibbs will be the primary offensive weapon of the day because we'll run him down someone's throat. We'll find success with it. The same with Monty, the same with JMO. We've got so many guys we can turn to do so many different things. JMO is in form now. Like, he's found his way into this team. The deep threat is there. His ability, we're using him in the run game. We're using him in motion. We're getting people out there. And the O-line is healthy. It has been for several weeks now. And in the second half of that Vikings game, because this is why I wanted the starters out there, because they have been a little iffy the few games beforehand, but it looked like everything started coming together. The offense was playing well. And it was moving the ball consistently, got the points it needed to, was working in lockstep with the defense. I just think that we've got a lot of weapons in the arsenal. We're in the playoffs now, and I think we're going to see Ben unload a lot here. So I just back us with the guys we have. We have so much, and we have pretty much everybody healthy for us. So, their D-line is good. It's great. But again, we have the guys to leak out quickly, to get the ball out of Goff's hands quickly, to get them to sit off a bit. And when that happens, you get your run game going, and then you hit the deep ball to JMO. I feel like the offense is catching fire at the right time. So for me, I think we're going to put up some points, but conversely, they can do exactly the same to us, as we just mentioned a minute ago. So I've been entirely pro us here.
I can see us getting some run up the middle and on the outside. Run up the middle, we're going up. We've got the league's best centre. I don't care what some people say. Do love Jason Kelsey, but Frank, he's playing with 9 toes, loads of injuries. He's every single week he's listed on the injury report with a head, shoulders, knees, and toes injury because he's everywhere. He's hurt. We've only ran for less than 100 yards in 3 games. 2 of them were when Monty was out earlier this year. So against Tampa Bay, 40 yards, and against Baltimore, 84. Tampa didn't really need to do it. Got it doing through the pass. Baltimore, obviously, with the game script of what happened, couldn't really run the ball, and that was Jameer Gibbs' breakout game anyway. And then last week against the Vikings, where it was a pass through the air, burn their secondary, game script thing in the fourth quarter where we couldn't really run the ball. Every other game we've ran for 100 yards, and that's against some really good defenses, like Packers, for example. That's a defense. I know, obviously, it's coordinated by Joe Barry, who is the worst defensive coordinator in NFL history, and I'll keep saying it. Got first round talent all over that place. Kenny Clark, Quay Walker, all these players. We ran all over them. I have faith. Yeah, exactly. Well, at least Matt Patricia had one good year. He made the best
You're
play.
about to say one good play there.
Exactly, one good play. Exactly, the best fourth quarter play in a Super Bowl ever. He made it. I have faith that and the way that Ben is, especially with the run game, I know obviously kind of did screw up a bit against Dallas, doing all those slow developing trap runs against every speedy defense. The way that Ben schemes up this run game, he mixes it up so much. I think we can get stuff going. It might have to be a bit, as you say, a bit more running on the outside to getting Graham and Jonah pulling to do outside zone stuff. But we're just as good at that as we are running up the middle with Monty. And then, of course, we've got our secret weapon back off IR recently with Jason Kabinda, the fullback extraordinaire. So, and then, of course, and Matt's going to facepalm even more. If we get down to the goal line, we still have our secret goal line play to play. We haven't used it.
Shut up. We're not going to fullback run with Aleem McNeil. It's not happening.
One of these days. He was a running back in college. I will see it one of these days.
College or high school? Was he in college?
Yeah, was at college. He did. Ant can probably look it up and get the exact numbers. I think he got a couple of snaps at running back in college because they obviously do the extra jumbo sets, don't they? But he definitely did it in high school, and he's also an outfielder in baseball as well. So he's got the mobility. Why not we used it?
He's undefeated against Florida State, so that's all I know.
Big Aries says, "How dare you speak poorly of Joe Barry? Keep him Green Bay." And I think we all can agree with that. Let's move on to the final side of the ball, which is the Lions' passing offense against the Rams' passing defense, and having a look at what the Rams have given up through the air recently. 175 yards against the 49ers. We throw that out because of the backup status of the game. The last 4 games otherwise, Ravens was 310, Commanders 218, Saints 304, Giants 284, all in wins for the Rams apart from the first game in overtime against the Ravens. So in games they won, they're still giving up, apart from the Commanders game, fairly hefty numbers through the air. And we've heard that, they are prone to the odd big play here or there. And Ash, I'll come back to you first. The Lions passing offense is a top 5 unit in the NFL, but Sam Laporta is banged up. Even if he plays, he's going to be hurt. He's going to be on a snap count at the very, very least. Khalif Raymond is probably not going to play. He's probably out. So, the Lions are behind it a little bit. But in JMO, who's starting to really come on fits and bursts, Josh Reynolds has started to pick up the slack where Sam Laporta went out, Reynolds went and got it done. And the team loved them so much they played snaps they didn't have to last week. Had people going mad saying, why are they running plays in the last 30 seconds when they can kneel down? And it's like, because they care about Reynolds getting his bonus. That's how much he means to them. And then, of course, Amon-Ra St. Brown, the Pro Bowler in spirit that he is. Ash, do you think that the Lions have the advantage on this side of the ball?
Yeah, for a couple of reasons. Obviously, Jomo coming back is going to be so useful to us. He wasn't there last week. Him coming back after double ankle sprains has come out. So we all knew about the right hand one. We saw that happen. A couple of steps later on the exact same play, he sprained his other ankle. So this guy's recovering from 2 ankle sprains, but supposedly he's fully back from that. That's going to add explosive element to our offense. I mentioned him earlier. If the team thinks that they need someone consistent at the wide receiver position, well, we have Dan Campbell's best friend sitting on the practice squad, Mr. Reliable himself, the former lacrosse star, Tom Kennedy, sitting on the practice squad, ready, waiting. This is why we kept him around, because he's a consistent, reliable guy. He might not be the most athletic guy in the world. He might not be the tallest guy in the world or the heaviest, but he's got a reliable pair of hands, and the team knows exactly what they're getting out of him. So
reliable
I could
pair of
see
hands in terms of 75-yard passing touchdown. Is that what you're talking about?
exactly, and that as well. I was going to come on to the trick plays for the explosive stuff, because we haven't really seen that this year, especially on offense. We've seen it on defense.
Well, Amon-Ra tried it once.
Yeah, that was once, and that was an explosive because that was in the red zone. That was a bad play call.
It was a bad play call. But yeah.
It was a really bad call. But we have the advantage because Laporta might be out. James Mitchell's obviously got the hand injury, but I have faith we can. Ben knows enough to scheme around it. We've got to remember, Ben is a former tight ends coach. Obviously, he used to be a quarterback and such. He will know how best to utilize Brock Wright when he's back, get him on a snap count. Might even see Jason Kabinda, Malcolm Rodriguez play a couple of snaps there, especially on run blocking. It will come down to Amon-Ra in the slot against Lake, and it will come up again, and it will be how well can Reynolds and JMO win their one-on-ones on the outside, because you've obviously got to respect Amon-Ra. I mean, the Vikings respected him so much that they decided for Harrison Phillips in the middle of the third quarter last week, decided to get on top of him and try and give him a little massage with all of his 320 pounds pressed down right on his chest. Can't wait to see the size of the FedEx fine he's going to be getting from Rog this week. You've got to respect Amon-Ra, and that's going to give us a one-on-ones for JMO and Reynolds. So it's going to be those outside one-on-ones, and then can Amon-Ra get his over the middle, because that's where this offense works. The only players to have gotten more yards in terms of in-breaking routes in the league this year than Amon-Ra are Tyreek Hill and Puka. Those are the top 3. Amon-Ra is, and well, obviously Laporta, but now definitely Amon-Ra is going to be fundamental to how this offense works, because we all know Goff is best on play action and in breaking routes. If you take away the in breaking routes of Amon-Ra, it will have to go to those outside one-on-ones. Can he trust them in one-on-ones? We'll have to wait and see. And then obviously, if you take away the play actions, as we said with the run game, there might be some issues. We've got to have that consistent game from everyone to set it up well for Goff, because if you guys can just tee off against us with Kobe and Donald, we're going to be screwed. If we can get James up and running on a go route or a corner post like he has against the Vikings the past couple of seasons, we might be able to. It really will come down to who can establish those kind of things.
Hey, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm nervous. Like I said before, I'm nervous. I think that. Okay, I'm going to say this about Jared Goff, and I don't want this to come across as bitter or anything like that, but like Goff did not have, in his last year at the Rams, he had some real stinker games. His final game though, he played very well. He played really well in a playoff game to beat the Seahawks, even though he had a broken thumb. And he came in there and he outdueled Russell Wilson in the playoffs. And then his final game against the Packers was kind of lackluster. I think that in a weird way, Jared Goff is the Lions' biggest asset in this game, but also biggest liability at the same time. And you could say that about most quarterbacks in any game, but I do think there's something about this one where if Goff has one of his games where he's fumbling the ball a lot, or where he's I know you guys get annoyed with the Stafford pick six from the past. I get annoyed about the Goff fumbles, because he used to fumble it all the stinking time when he was with the Rams. And again, he's developed into a much better quarterback. At this point in his career, he's tightened up his game a lot. He's still one of the best arm talents in the world. But I do think that if Aaron Donald and company can get pressure on him, I think that the Lions receivers could be neutralized in this game, and they might not be able to have their big play explosive offense down the field if they have to go where they're just throwing everything underneath. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see the Lions get Goff in a rhythm early in this game, because I think that's going to be important for the Lions if they're going to win this game. But I'm hoping that the Rams pass rush will make life uncomfortable, and yeah, hopefully the Rams get the win.
Is it time to be a homer again? What do you think on the Lions pass offense?
Hey, I always try and be relevant to both sides, but I mean, with us, like our passing game, I think we're going to be just fine. Not to disrespect Lagota, like our best player, but there have been 9 games this season he's not had over 50 yards receiving. The great thing about our offense is I think people are blowing it up too much. Everyone's like, oh no, Laporta's out, we're doomed, we're going to lose. It's like, no, guys, come on. You can lose one tight. If you kind of operate without one rookie tight end in your team, you're not really meant to be in the playoffs. It's not the be all and end all. And again, I go back to the point of we've got that many playmakers that we've got people who will step up in his stead. Like, we need a guy in the slot. We bring Jahmyr Gibbs up and play him in there. We've seen he's able to do that. We've got Amon-Ra, who's one of the best slots in the game, like full out there. We've got J-Mo, who's going to be back healthy on the edge. We've got weapons and we've got depth. James Mitchell's had one limited practice with a hand injury. Probably taking it easy because we don't have that many tight ends at this moment. Brock's going to be back. We have the weapons and the versatility to get around that. As for Goff, he's back to playing some of his best ball again. And even if he's pressured, we saw the thing the other day, he's got the third best rate in the league, the third lowest sack rate in the league when under pressure. He's not the Jared Goff who arrived. And that's the thing with him. He's not the Jared Goff who arrived from LA. We saw what you saw when he first got here. I think it was 5 fumbles in his first 3 games, a few interceptions in there as well. It was, and that first year it was, but then obviously towards the end of last year, start of this year, he had one of the longest interception-free streaks ever. He's had his little run this year where he's thrown a few bad ones, but he's back to where he is. We remark all the time how good he looks under pressure at this moment. He's confident, he's slinging the ball, and he's not making boneheaded mistakes either. As I say, the ball protection's there, he's throwing it away smartly, quickly, not putting it in harm's way. So from that point of view, I think that we should be all right as long as the run game can get going as well and doesn't put it all on him, because let's face it, most quarterbacks struggle in that situation, but I like our weapons still. And like I say, Josh Reynolds didn't really see much the other week. Again, this is why next man up, bring him in, get plays out of him. So again, the Rams defense has struggled against the pass. Like, that's a fact. And we've got good players to be able to expose that. So again, I like that matchup personally. And again, I feel like Goff's due like a career day of some form. I think he's really gonna show out here. Like when he played the Bills on Thanksgiving the other year and we thought, gonna struggle a bit. He played really well in the big pressure. So yeah, I think it's gonna be good for us.
Not that it makes any difference at all to how this game is going to go, but considering both Lions coordinators are up for other jobs, there is no bigger audition for them both than this game because they're going to be challenged on both sides of the ball. So, you want to get a job, go and ball out. Go and do it. Looking forward to it. If you've not seen the show before, if you are a Rams fan who's joined in because Peo is here, welcome. We are going to close out our audio show in a
Chipper.
second. Sorry.
I mean, you've done head-to-heads,
Yes.
and we've got the king of this here, but are you not going to mention special teams on special teams?
No.
That kind of feels like a very... Well, no, because it does feel like a very relevant matchup to this week. Because, I mean, remember the last time we played the Rams when we went to SoFi 2 years ago?
Well, and we had
we
the
pulled
fake
off
punt.
two. We pulled off two fake punts. We pulled off two. We had the CJ Moore run, the 30-yarder. We had Fox who threw a pass which converted on there. And we saw the value of our special teams against Minnesota. Like, Fox was banging them into the 5, like the 5, not even the 10. He was nailing them into the 5 and putting them in situations. Khalif, I know he's not going to play in this, but we've still got good returners on our team. The guys block, the guys operate really well, and we get in the shorter fields in terms of us. And you know, and as Peo said, their special teams are struggling. I mean, we're both struggling kicking. Like, let's just make this a game where 2-point conversions for touchdowns all day.
Yeah.
I think that's what we should do.
I'm okay with that.
No kickers are allowed. Just 2-point conversions all game. But you know, I feel like that's a very. I feel like we have to mention that because if we move the field position around in our favor as we did against the Vikings, that will be big for us because they've made a lot of big time mistakes there. Don't forget, the noise is going to be astronomical here. It's going to be very distracting. It's going to be very deafening. Like, I feel like that's something we have to mention because Phipp's on a roll at the minute, and that's something you've got to exploit.
Does anyone else have any thoughts about the special teams apart from that?
I'll just. Oh, sorry, Ash. I'll just
No,
say.
you go, and then I'll go into the returning game because I've got a few candidates.
I'll just say this. So the Rams punt returner, Austin Trammell, like I call him the touchback master. Any excuse to have a touchback, he will take it. And honestly, I'd rather he fair catch it and do nothing than actually try and return the ball. That's kind of where I'm at. If the Rams special team is boring and doesn't like see the field that much, that's a good day for the Rams special teams.
That's fair. That's fair. It's just obviously, as Matt mentioned, with Leaf being out, it's a bit of an issue because we saw him finally come into it last week, as he said, 2 massive returns. Then unfortunately gets the knee injury that's probably going to rule him out for at least this game. We've obviously got Jameson Williams, Jimmy Gibbs have both been mentioned, but supposedly they're not in the competition. It's going to be Amon Ra and Khalil Dorsey, and then potentially former USFL Special Teams Player of the Year, Maurice Alexander, who's sitting on our practice squad. So we have options there. So hell, I can see us getting Swayze on special teams again. Though we even I might dare I say because we saw it week 18 against the Packers a couple of years ago. I know Decker missed out on his touchdown a couple of weeks ago. We might be able to replicate that again. Just something if Dan feels like it is that kind of situation where it's going to be a shootout and he needs all the advantages you can get. Yeah, we're going to get the sort of we're going to get that, and the crowd's going to be going loud like they did last week when Skipper did it every single time.
I'm not just feeling myself. Sure I am reporting eligible.
It's in his eligible. Finally, after a couple of weeks out, I can see that could be the edge, and I've been saying it for ages. As Anne points out, I'm like guy who always talks about special teams. This is the situation now where this special teams is going to be the edge. This is why I kept trumping on about it for years now, because we're at the situation now where we need every single little 1% margin of victory we can get to help push that us over the line. I think special teams really could be that, except for the kicking game, as Ant said, because we also have had a shocker in the kicking game. Patterson misses a couple, though one could argue 1 or 2 were blocked. Last week, Badgley has an extra point blocked. If you can block us again and it not be penalised, that could be the margin of error, because it was the margin of error against the Cowboys. We lost by 1 point. It nearly cost us last week. It could cost us this week. So it's going to be Phipp has got to be on his A game, but I can see it happening because Phipp is such a good special teams coordinator. Like, there's a reason he got voted 4th best by the NFLPA, but that's not just how he used to play. He is really damn good at his blocking, setting up blocking, and the fake punts, as we saw a couple of weeks ago with JRM completing the first ever pass from a Lions defensive player in franchise history. That's how spicy he gets. He sets up fake punts with running a linebacker a couple of times early in the season, fake punts, knowing it probably won't work, to then set up a fake pass later in the season. That's how like galaxy brained he is.
That's
I would
cool.
just not send your punt units out or anything. Just keep your defense out there on every
Yeah.
fourth down and punt. Like Dan's aggressive, and I feel like he's getting more aggressive as the time comes along. If it's anything near midfield, like don't send your punt return team out there because it ain't getting returned.
I'm
Punted,
okay.
Sorry.
You know what? I'd rather have our defense than our punt return team on the field, so I'm okay with that.
Right, we're going to go through keys to victory and the score prediction, then we're going to end the audio podcast, and then for just our YouTube and Twitch listeners, we're going to go into some questions and talk about the rest of Super Wildcard Weekend. So, with that in mind, if you do have any further questions, we have like 10, but we're free to take more, so if you want to shout some out at us, I'll try and answer as many as we can at the end of the show. But for now, our take on how to end this show generally is what I call keys to victory, but it's not really that at all. It's assume your team has won the game and then work backwards from that. So the Rams have won, Peo. What's the game script to get there for the Rams? What have the Rams got to do? What's a single thing that maybe you think is the most important thing the Rams can do to win this? Because you've alluded to the fact that you think that the passing game is going to have some success, but you also think the Detroit passing game is going to have some success. You said perhaps the team with the ball last is going to win this game. But if the Rams are going to win it, maybe decisively, what are they going to do right that wins overall?
I think if the Rams is a higher scoring game where Stafford is on, Kyren Williams is able to be relevant in the run game, I would, if this is a low scoring game, I don't know if, like, just because of the Rams' struggles at special teams at the kicker position, I don't see this being a game where, okay, we're going to put the game on line with Brett Maher for even like a 40 or 50-yard field goal. I'm not confident in either of those. So I think if this is a game the Rams are going to win, it'll be because of their aerial attack. And I think Kupp and Puka, Demarcus Robinson, I could see having a huge game. As he's kind of emerged as an elite third receiver this year, and yeah, I think that's kind of the recipe for it. And I don't like to. I think what I'm concerned about, not just because it's the Lions. I would think this if any playoff team. I don't want this game to come down to a bad stinking call. That's frustrating for any team.
You are preaching to the choir.
No, I know it.
Just don't put it out there in the etherverse, please.
No, I'm sorry, but I'll just say it. If the Rams win because of a stupid no call or call, I don't want that for the Rams. I don't want that for Lions fans. I'll still take the win because like a win's a win. But like, I really hope that it comes down to the team that played the better game, or who came in and was able to get that last score towards the end of the game. I hope that's who wins.
If it happens again where something like the Cowboys happens and it screws us, if you look off from the coast of Nova Scotia in the direction of Great Britain, you will see our collective rage. You will see the red beam of light emanating into the air where that's us at that point. That would be a killer. Like
an active volcano will just appear.
Something we will fling something at whichever ref it is across the Atlantic, wherever it is. It will. We can't take no more.
Well, I mean, so was it Rams Saints that was the no call DPI?
Yeah,
it was that, wasn't it? In the Rams' favor.
Yeah,
and we had the no call against us against the Cowboys. So the karma would be to reverse that. I'm just saying.
No, okay. Now there's been other games bad calls against them too. Okay, like this is not the Lions. It happens more often than not, it seems. But like bad calls aren't exclusive to just the Lions. Okay?
No. Oh,
I
no,
want a
absolutely
clean-
not.
I want a clean game. I don't want us to win because I don't want Mike Tirico's snarky voice going, "Oh, it's a playoff win," but with an asterisk next to it, like
Yeah.
with the Chiefs game. I can't.
Hell.
And Tirico's calling this, so I want, like, with due respect, I want us to win like 70-0, so that there is nothing he can say that like there's an asterisk against it. Like, just
Winning enough that he actually has to tongue Jared Goff would be quite pretty. Like I would feel
Don't,
I don't want to
genuine
see-
joy.
I don't
wanna
think his
see
wife
Mike
would
Tirico-
appreciate that.
I don't- Mike
Yeah.
Tirico tonguing Jared Goff would not be pretty.
Right. And Ash, keys to victory for the Lions. I mean, we've probably spoken on this already, so maybe something unique. I don't know, is some way the Lions can win that we haven't spoken about.
So to set this up, first off, if us and the Rams played on a neutral field tomorrow with nothing on the line, I think we'd win. And I say this because coming into the game this week, all the pressure, and I mean all the pressure, is on us, realistically, in terms of, again, we go back to Goff. This is a full circle in his career, a chance to prove everybody wrong for Detroit. It's the first home game in 30 years. It's the first chance to win a playoff game in forever. There is a lot of pressure on us. And I think back to some of the games where this team has first come up against pressure like that, like the Panthers last year when the playoffs became an opportunity. They got stage fright. They froze. If we're going to win this game, it's because we don't mentally succumb to the occasion. I think if the Lions embrace this playoff game, they embrace the crowd, they are fired up, but in the right sort of way, that they're going out playing their best football, using it to create momentum, to just go out there and absolutely kick everything in front of them, I think we'll win. And I would like to think we could win semi-dominantly. But it's all up here now, because this is it. This is the barrier. This is the big one left to get a playoff win. And if we get stage fright and things start going wrong, we've seen it in games last year and this year, that it starts to get to them a bit and we get out of rhythm and the fans can get on them. If they lose the fans, they go quiet, then everything changes. So I think it's all about up here, because I think on the day we're the better team, just about. So as long as you win here, you'll win out there. That's what I got with this.
Ash?
Limit the explosive plays from the Rams. Don't care if it's on the ground or by the run. Don't let them get those big chunk yardage, because when it's stopping the short stuff, we can do that. It's only when we let teams get the big explosive plays, get into the red zone early, that we crumble. Stop. Don't let that happen. Score some ourselves. Establish in the trenches, and we should be okay.
I know I've not said a huge amount about what I think about this game, just trying to be the good host. But for me, this is about keeping the game competitive until the fourth quarter. Because I think that Ant is on to something in terms of the fourth quarter for the Rams. I don't think that this is a game the Rams will win if it's competitive into the fourth quarter. If you have a look at the games that they've played recently in terms of the Saints game, the Commanders game, and going back further, they've been like 20, 30 points in front before it becoming a one-score game. If the Lions are level going into the fourth quarter, I think we'll win this game. If the Lions are within one score, I think we'll win this game. So don't beat yourself, which is kind of an extension of what Ant said in the first place. But it's larger than that, and I think it comes back to win in the trenches, run the ball. And I think run the ball more than people would expect you to, because yes, we talk about Montgomery and Gibbs, but actually the Lions team over the past 2 years has really, although it's had an identity of winning in the trenches, has won with the pass rather than the run. With Sam Laporta this year, but last year Leaf came into it and was a big part. Amon-Ra was fantastic. We were a top 5 passing team, and that's how we won last year. And really, in a whole, it's how we've won this year. It's how teams win. But if we want to limit the Rams in terms of their explosive plays, don't let them have the ball as much. I mean, it's a very simple thing, and I know everyone talks about that, but it's especially important in this game, given the offense we're facing, how we're playing defensively. If you can keep our defense off the field, and then actually just go at it and go blitz heavy like Wink Martindale did in the Giants game, where the Rams legitimately didn't play as well as they could have done and should have lost that game. We need to be as fresh as we possibly can be on defense. So win time of possession, run the ball more than 55% of the time. Like, I want to see run heavy, not just balanced. Because if we can do that successfully, we win this game. So that's it for me. Heavy jumbo sets. I want to see Dan Skipper on the field lots. Like, lots of cheers from the Lions fans just getting into it to stoke them up. And really the fans have got to come into it too and play their part. There was calls for the fans not to just get loud once the huddle had been broken, but to do it before the huddle actually starts. You've got to do your bit. If you're in Ford Field, it's the most expensive ticket in the country. By far the most expensive ticket in the country for this weekend because of the narratives and because of how starved Detroit have been. Make yourself heard because you will be the difference. Score predictions, fellas. Peo, to you first.
I think it's going to come down to Matthew Stafford, the Rams offense, will get the ball at their own 25 with 2 minutes left in the game, one timeout. And they're going to go down the field, and the Rams are going to win this game 30-26. That's my prediction.
Sunday is the day that SOL dies. We stick a silver stake in its heart, pepper it in holy water, and bury it in the ground where we never see it again. 34-20 for the Lions. I think mentally they are going to come into this. They have everything to prove, and they're going to go out and absolutely destroy everything in the sight. I do believe that.
Ash.
Well, I'm going to look kind of dumb now because I had the exact same score prediction in my head, 34-20 to Lions. There's this reason it's called a Sunday, and we're changing that now. I can see Amon-Ra, for some reason, he's going to be pissed. He was pissed last week. We saw what happened last week. He got pissed after Harrison Phillips decided to kneel on his chest. Now it's his chance to show the league he's pissed about the Pro Bowl. He's pissed about everything that's happened to him. All these lists he's got inside his head of the receivers taking him over in the draft, the receivers who are above him in the NFC Pro Bowl voting, all the lists he's got of all the detractors we've had this year. And because, as Ken Strauss points out in the chat, because of the Honolulu blue hair he's got now, I can see him just coming out and showing why he is a top 3 receiver in this league. 34-20 Lions. I'm not copying you, man. I did have that in my head before you said it.
We can have the same score. We're thinking along the same lines.
Right, I'm going to go proper sicko.
Oh, yes.
Proper sicko. Lions win.
Like 3-0 or something.
Lions win 36-35 with a final second 2-point attempt to win the game.
Oh,
You
just want to phone the ambulance to my house right now. Like,
and mine. He will literally see me having a heart attack alive. You saw what happened last time.
I'm dealing with shattered ribs. I can't deal with that much emotion, Matthew. I can't. With no cardiac cats this week.
I knew it would have that reaction, so in part I just wanted to do it to you. But genuinely, I just do think it will be a close game. And I mean, even if you reversed it and you have McVay going for 2 to win the game and not getting it, I could also see something like that. But I believe in us to do it.
And you've just spoken that in there. What if they do 2-point conversion to win it on us? What are you going to do then, Matthew?
And I don't believe in speaking it into existence, so if it happens, it had nothing to do with me, and I don't give a shit.
You put it out there in the ethosphere that it's going to come down to a 2-point
conversion. It could be 40-0 to the Lions. Did I just make that happen? I don't think I did, but it could, you know?
I'd have preferred it. To be honest.
it could be 40-0 for the Rams. Did I just make that happen?
Absolutely. I think we did. We increased the percentage by at least.
You know what? I'd rather a blowout than a close game. Like, just let it be over early. If it comes down to, like, can you imagine if it comes, like, because Scott Hansen did it the other week on Red Zone. They showed Justin Tucker again, which is like cyberbullying at this point, the 66-yarder, the field goal that sunk us. Like, we got so many walk-off field goals against us that year that we're still traumatized by it now. We can't do walk-off things anymore.
I I don't think you have to worry about a walk-off field goal from Brett Maher and the Rams.
Yeah, but that's just the thing. You would like get a last-minute drive with Stafford, get 58 yards away or something, have to kick it, and then he'd come on and just have the kick of his life, just leather everything he has through it, and it trickles in over the bar or something like that. That is the sort of stuff that happens to us. So
it does. We have a subscription by Pride of Detroit on at Tier 1 for their 19th month, saying if the Lions win on a 2-point conversion, I will watch the divisional round from a hospital bed. Thank you, Jeremy.
Is that Jeremy?
It is.
What about if the Lions win on a flea flicker?
Well, I'm not sure whether he'd be here at all for the divisional round if that's the case, but you know. Right, we're going to draw the audio podcast to a close now, and then we're going to take off the air for YouTube and Twitch listeners the questions that you've been giving us all the way through the show, which Ash has so dutifully listed for me, and my God, the list is growing, so we're going to try and be quick on those, because otherwise we will be here beyond midnight, and I have work in the morning. Our next show is the live reaction show. On Sunday night, we start UK time, 10 to 1 in the morning, which of course is 10 to 8 Eastern time. So come and join us for that. The college football podcast and is tomorrow. Again, Hula Bowl?
Yeah, Hula Bowl roster preview tomorrow. It'll be good fun.
And then come what may, we will be doing the review show on Monday, win or lose. And hopefully we will be joined by LA Rams UK as well for that one. So one of us will be crying into our tea. Let's find out who on Sunday. You can find us on Royal Lions UK on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And the group for Worldwide fans is Detroit Lions Fans UK 1 Pride Worldwide on Facebook. If you haven't joined that group, do join it. There may be news from us if we progress through these playoffs. If not, oh well. The website, rotluk.com, where you can find a lovely blog post from Ant, who hasn't done a blog post for a while, but the post itself has been getting a lot of really good positive feedback about Goff and Stafford. So go and read that there, as well as Ash's preview article, which is going to come out very shortly as well. Peo, just want to throw to you at the end here to talk about your channel again. Where do we find you? And you're going to be going live as well through the game, I think.
Yeah, I'll host a watch party. I got a good group of Ram fans and company that we all watch and react to the game together. We have a lot of fun. Whenever the Rams score, I eat a Reese's Pieces Cooper cup, and it's sort of a tradition on my channel. And yeah, I do little skits about the Rams and NFL. I will post, Rams related news videos, things like that, and just trying to have as much fun as possible on the internet talking about the Rams.
All right, that's going to do it for us on the audio show. If you want to see the after time, you know where to find us on YouTube and Twitch. Just remains for me to thank Ant and Ash, and thank you to Peo for joining us. It's been a long one, but for a playoff game,
it's been fun. Thanks for having me on. It's been fun.
It's been fantastic. Love to have you, and good luck for Sunday. Guys, on the audio pod, good luck on this weekend. Get loud if you're in the stadium. Let's go Lions, one Pride.
On Pride.
Recording stopped.
Right, questions that we have to go through. And Jeremy Reisman, we have this screenshotted now, has said, if they win by flea flicker, I will delete my Twitter. You don't know anything about us if you don't know that for some reason Ash Soden and Anthony Fitzpatrick keep their receipts for things. So that's a really dangerous thing you've put into the world given your position. I'm sure you won't honour it, and please don't if it happens. But
he said it with the Pride of Detroit account. So it's like, is it their Twitter that's going to go?
I don't know.
We can go in and steal their name then afterwards and use it to get more followers.
Oh, Dan Pask says mushy peas. Still have them here.
They've got their suitcase packed for when they go to Detroit in April.
Sorry, Peo, in joke.
Oh, do your thing, man. No, chuckle away.
Right. I'm going to butcher. I'm going to say Joakim Madsen. I want to say Joaquin Madsen, but Joakim Madsen, I think.
I think that's Joakim.
Joakim. I have a question for you guys regarding Jared Goff. How much did you guys watch Jared Goff with the Rams? And do you agree that Goff had regressed from the 17 to 19 season to 2020? I'll just kick off by saying I was firmly, as an outsider, on the Rams should trade Jared Goff train before he was traded to Detroit. When he was benched in the season when he was dumped, and you brought in, was it Brett Ripien?
Wofford.
John Wolford.
I thought that it was the right decision. So I had a really low opinion of Goff in terms of where he was in his development. And I thought that he might go the way that, say, Carson Wentz has done now. Like that's what I thought of Goff. So I absolutely thought that. And when he was traded, I really thought, oh, they've done a Brock Osweiler.
Yeah.
You know, so the Carolina Panthers trade on the table was 8th overall pick and Teddy Bridgewater. Rams was 2 firsts and Jared Goff. Well, Bridgewater's didn't come with a big contract. So it kind of felt like the difference between Goff and Bridgewater was that first round pick. And so the trades were fairly even to me. That's how I felt about it. And Ash, how did you feel at the time about that trade? Because Goff now and Goff then is a very different animal.
Yeah. I felt pretty much the exact same. Carson Wentz was pretty much going to be the words out of my mouth, like that kind of thing where I hate to see a product to the system, because obviously I'm looking at it now with hindsight, but product to the system, outside of that, can he really succeed? Obviously, the confidence low from obviously losing the Super Bowl like he did against the Patriots, and it all just falling apart. I was a bit like, yeah, salary dump like Brock Osweiler. He's going to be a bridge guy. We're not going to win many games next season, and then we're going to draft somebody to be the QB of the future. And he's just completely gone the opposite way. He's gone sort of like how Baker Mayfield has gone for the Bucks this year. Obviously, played for the injuries at Cleveland, went to Carolina, and went to you guys. Nearly got us into the playoffs before the refs screwed both of us over at the last game of the season last season. Went to the Bucks this year, sort of really proved himself, and obviously he's got them into the playoffs as the 4th seed, arguably a weak 4th seed, but that's by the by. I still think they're going to beat the Philadelphia Eagles this week. But that's what's happened. He's completely turned it around. He's shown that he wasn't a product of this system. He still obviously needs stuff around him to win, but who doesn't? Like, look what's happened with Mahomes this year. We beat them week 1 because his receivers, especially Kadarius Toney, couldn't catch a ball to save his life. Everyone needs stuff around him, and he just rebounded so well. So at the time, I was kind of upset about it. It's like, okay, let's start scouting the quarterbacks, because that was the first show I was really getting to scouting. Now I'm just like, yeah, it'd be nice to have someone come in, but Goff's here for the long haul. Teddy, he's unfortunately rising to the sunset at the end of this season. We've got Hendon in as the backup of the future with some athleticism. Let's see what we can do with Goff from here on out. Can he evolve as the offensive systems evolve with him?
I didn't watch a great deal of the Rams like prior to his arrival here, so I didn't see a great deal of the play there. Obviously, I watched it more after he got here, but all I will say is Goff is a testament to what happens if you have a general manager and a head coach who like truly believe in a quarterback. So we'll forget that Brad helped draft him. Like he was one of the big reasons they went up and got him in the first place. He had faith in him in college. He had faith in him enough to convince the Rams brass to give up a lot to go and get him in the draft and to start him. And then to bring him here as well, or to at least, have him as part of the deal. And, you see so many quarterbacks around this league who've been tossed away, and like the Vikings. Dobbs comes in, wins a couple of games, loses one, out you go. Same with Nick Mullins, out you go. And even when we went down to 1-6 last year, and we were all starting to doubt the process. We were having issues, and I publicly gave up on him. They still believed in him. So, Goff is an example of what happens if you stick with a quarterback through thick and thin. You get your rewards in the end, and far too many teams in this league don't do that. So, because you've seen, the problems he had advertised when he came here, the fumbling, gone. The problems under pressure, gone. The belief that he can only do it with all-pro caliber guys around him all the time, gone. He's created stars here. Like he's helped create Laporta and Amon-Ra, and he's built these guys up around him. And all it takes is a little belief. McVay, I think, lost faith in him along the way, like after the Super Bowl. And, when you give up on him, it happens. So, yeah, that's all I say with that. I didn't see much of him before he got here, but I've seen the growth since he's been here. So I can believe that it wasn't a good end to him over there, because he did come away giving it away all the time.
Hey, what do you think about Goff then and now? Because it's a big change.
Yeah, and again, we'll never fully know how the relationship between Jared Goff and Sean McVay deteriorated. I do think, like 2018, Jared Goff lights out, like one of the best seasons a quarterback has ever had with the Rams. Like phenomenal. Like 2018, Jared Goff. It really helped that Todd Gurley was there as well, playing at a very high level. But then in 2019 and 2020, there just seemed to be, these games where Goff would turn the ball over once, and then that game he was required to turn it over 3 more times. And I distinctly remember watching some games and being like, oh no, this Goff showed up. And it was kind of a Jekyll and Hyde sort of, experience. I think the biggest thing when the Stafford trade happened, I was like, yeah, I believe Stafford's football IQ is at a higher level. I believe Stafford is better at keeping his eyes down the field and, pushing the ball down the field. And I really felt in that trade, that's the advantage that Stafford gave. Like, that's why you gave up all those picks, plus a younger quarterback that you drafted #1 overall for Matthew Stafford. That being said, I think that Goff has really elevated his game. He's gotten a lot better at keeping his eyes down the field. I'm still, and again, I'm biased because, my team won the Super Bowl with Stafford. I'm still not at a place where, like, man, I wish we had Jared Goff. Like, I would I'm so glad we made the trade. I'll never get to a place where I'm like, oh, like, what if sort of thing. I think that, the relationship between McVay and Goff had kind of deteriorated, and it was just, they were going to move on from him. Again, wish it would have happened not as rushed and a little differently than it did. But and I'm thankful for Jared Goff for what he did with the Rams. The Rams hadn't had stability at the quarterback position for a long, long time, like since like Mark Bulger. And so he came in, he stabilized the position, and he's still one of the best quarterbacks in Rams history for the time that he played here. But I'm happy for the success he's having in Detroit with you guys, and that Detroit fans are cheering him on. But I'm curious to see what he does in this game where there is a lot of pressure on him. There is a lot of reasons why he could get in his own head. And yeah, we'll see.
Interesting follow-up to that question then, Ash and Ant. You are offered Stafford for Goff straight up. No picks. Do you take it?
No.
This entire
me
offensive
neither.
system's built around Goff.
At this point, at the time of the trade, there's no doubt that Stafford was the much better quarterback. But at this point, and with time on his side, and let's face it, Stafford, the warrior that he is, has taken his fair share of knocks. The retirement rumours will never go away for him, given his age and given what injuries he sustained through his career. There's no doubt he loves football more than is sense for a person of his age. And the injuries he sustained, and the personal health issues that his wife has had. Like, beyond all sense, he's still playing.
Yeah.
With all of that said, I would 100% want Goff right now.
Interesting.
I mean, I didn't say this as hyperbole when I wrote it, but I do believe I am as emotionally invested in him now as I am Stafford to those levels, because so many quarterbacks and so many players come to cities and they say coach speak, they say, oh, I want to, and it's just a load of old tosh that players say when they get there. And like when Jared first came here, Like he wore the Beverly Hills Cop jacket. Oh god, he's just trying to look like he's from here, but he's not. He's still the Cali boy. But as you've gone along with him, like that first year was really difficult. You could see he was struggling. You could see the confidence wasn't there. And then you saw the first touchdown pass to Amon-Ra when we won the game and how much it meant to him. And you start to get hooked then. And then the teams start playing better. We blew out playoff teams after that on the end of that year. And then the second year when it's getting so hard and we've been blown out by the Cowboys and the Patriots, and for him to be able to dig in and grit it out and find a way out of it and to get this team out of it and to go on the run that we did, and for him to play some of his best football in forever, like say, addressing his problems. You get to the end of last year and you're feeling great. You go to Green Bay and win when you've got nothing to play for, and he helps lead that. And you're like, actually, I'm getting behind this guy now. He's getting a bit swagger behind him. Like when he had a go at Ryan Fitzpatrick saying, I'm not a poor guy's anything. I'm like, that's embodying what Detroit is. People disrespecting them and him turning around and going, oh, really? Well, screw you. We're going to do this. And it's sort of crescendo to the point now where he's got us on the brink of the playoffs, and we've been through some low lows with him and we've been through some high highs. And then at the end of that last game, when we got the NFC North, he nearly cried. Did you, that bit?
Yeah.
And that,
when his voice
I don't
broke.
know whether it was just that tiny little bit that finally like truly got me, because there's a person behind there. And like everything he's been through since he's been here, not wanted by half the fans, given up on a lot of the fans, let go by his old team. And you suddenly feel like you've been on this emotional journey with him. And like, he's taken on the identity of the city, this team. It wasn't just words. It was like, he's invested everything here. So I'm going to invest. I'm not just going to go back to Stafford now. Like a guy who's given so much to a team when so many others will not. I'm not going to give him back. I'm going to follow him till the bloody end now. Like, that's it. Not many players will do that for you.
Yeah. Yeah, Stafford is by far and away my favourite Lion of all time. Like, there's absolutely no doubt. I say it with my chest on the eve of this game, Stafford is my favourite player ever. He was the reason initially why I supported the bloody team. So, I ain't about to turn my back on the guy now. But this weekend, he's the enemy. It's really fucking simple for anyone who doesn't understand. He's on the other side. On Monday morning, he's still my favourite Lion ever. But I fell in love with Jared Goff in that Vikings game where we won our first game with him. And a lot of players in that situation, having led the team on a game-winning drive, would sink to their knees, look up to the sky, and thank God for what happened. He ran straight to Dan Campbell and gave him a fucking bear hug. And in that moment, my heart just melted. Like, like Ant said, he's not just an automaton, although he like Stafford, shies away from the limelight. Like, he's an understated guy who doesn't seek any of that sort of thing. In that moment, he just kind of broke character. And then, you, like you said, saw that again when we won the North. He would have cried if we'd given him enough rope. He would have been in tears like Decker was. It was a beautiful, beautiful moment. So, yeah, I'm here for it. I need to take two. So, Ash, you've got the running order for the questions. Can you just take over for a second?
Of course, yeah. No worries. So, next question up is from Mike, our friend Mike the Marine on Twitch, and he says, question for later, Stafford releases the fourth fastest in the league, so it's time to throw. Is that because the Rams use timing routes with motion, or is there something else to it?
I definitely think that has a large part to it. So, sometimes though you'll see that, like, it was mentioned earlier in the stream that he'll just do a one-step drop, and I've seen certain game scripts where just like it seems like the Rams just are prioritizing get the ball out quick, and almost at times they use that as a pseudo run game at times. And they'll get it quick to a wide receiver or running back with blockers in front, and that's just kind of the way they operate for a quarter or a chunk of that game.
Yeah, well, that sounds a bit familiar, doesn't it? Dare I utter the words Theo Riddick?
No,
that for a long time. Yeah, please don't. But for a while, when obviously between like Reggie Bush and say his last couple of years here, we have like Kerryon Johnson, John Swift. That's how we had a run game, because obviously we didn't have one. We were running with absolute wastes behind him. So that's how we did it with just quick dump offs. It completely makes sense. Like we've seen it works. Obviously, it's good you guys are incorporating that, but obviously that's going to be key because obviously it's going into the next question as well. Also from Mike, who says, how's the Rams O-line looking in pass protection? They say it's good, but it's allowed 2 or 3 sacks in the past 5 games. Where are the weak links, and is the time to throw because of that? So obviously, especially with Aiden Hutchinson turning it on the past couple of weeks, like 5 sacks, 8 tackles for loss. One of the now has joined the club with PFF for the 5th ever player in there ever since they started recording pressures to get over 100 pressures. So is the time to focus on the pass protection, and how is your pass protection?
Yeah, again, for the majority of the year, they've played very well. There's been a few games that they've been a little suspect. The interior of this Rams O-line is very good. Very good. Where at times they have struggled is at the left tackle position for sure, and that's mainly because Alaric Jackson and No Boom have both battled injuries and kind of rotated in that position. Rob Havenstance on the right side, he's a seasoned vet, but like he's the right tackle. He does a pretty he's one of the only, him and Aaron Donald are the only St. Louis Rams that are left. Yeah. And so there's that element to it. But no, the Rams O-line, like I said, I think there's certain pass rushers that have done really well against them. And I think Aiden Hutchinson has the potential to be one of those. So definitely he's like in terms of Lions players that I'm most concerned about going into this game, I would say Aiden Hutchinson is the top one for me as a Rams fan.
Well, to build on that, well, luckily for you, I guess, because Hutch usually lines up over the right tackle. Maybe that'll be a good battle for us to watch. Then it's obviously Havenstein, if he's your nice sort of solid guy. Obviously, for us, that's usually Deck. He's that sort of veteran guy's side. So it might be interesting for us to see who plays on the left tackle because don't know obviously how much you've seen lines for. That's been a rotating cast. We've had Charles Harris be there. He's been veteran guy, but he's been inactive some weeks. We've had Matt's favourite, his second favourite Lion ever after Matthew Stafford with Romeo Okwara. He is literally the only person in the world to own a Romeo Okwara jersey. He's been getting some snaps there. He's been having a career year according to PFF. We've had one of my favourite players, Josh Pascal, step up there the past couple of weeks, but he's more of a run stuffer. Same with John Kaminsky, who was inactive last week because he had an illness. He's more of a run stuffer and a pass rusher. So it might be interesting to see how we exploit that weakness at left tackle, especially if, as some people have said in the comments, James Houston finally gets activated off IR. That's the guy who is our speed rusher, the splashy guy. You might remember him from last year, where he broke out against the Bills in Thanksgiving, absolutely did in Deion Dawkins twice in the space of 5 plays with a sort of Mario Jump-esque pass rush move where he dips under the corner and got to Josh Allen. So it might be interesting to see if this will be the tune-up game for Houston after we obviously had one last week for Liam and CJ against the Vikings. It'll be interesting to see that.
Matt's second favourite player's on IR. Scott Daly.
Oh, yeah, of course. See, no, you can't say that because I'm going to use that as an answer for one of the questions later. Don't you stole my thunder now.
Well, Daly is our long snapper, by the way.
Yeah, and I'll skip to that question then. It's from Grandizer, our friend of everyone on the pod here. Question to all of us. If you had a magic wand that could make one player from your respective team's IR roster completely healthy for this postseason, who would it be? And I've had my answer stolen. I would have said Scott Daly for the memes, so I won't answer now.
The Rams haven't got anyone IR, have they?
I tried it. We had people on IR, but they've come back.
Yeah,
they're pretty healthy.
So hang on. They've taken 2023 away over the cap. Bloody.
I've got it on our lads. On our lads, that you have Hunter Long, the tight end, Alex Ward, and Sean Jolly.
Okay. You know what? I'm going to take tight end Hunter Long. He is the tight end we got from the Dolphins in the Jalen Ramsey trade, which ultimately ended up being Byron Young and Hunter Long for Jalen Ramsey. And Hunter Long, injuries have plagued him his entire time with the Dolphins and with the Rams. And it's sort of always he has the physical traits to be a really good tight end, but just can't stay on the field. So I guess out of, there's not too many players on that IR that would get substantial playing time. I would have liked to see Hunter Long come back.
Emmanuel Mosley.
Oh, that's a good answer.
I would wave my magic wand, sprinkle fairy dust, and sacrifice a goat to get Emmanuel Mosley back on this team because we need him. We need a good corner.
That's fair, Matt. And you can't say Scott Daly.
Like hell he would. Even if he was the only guy on there, he'd not say that.
No, Matt prefers him to Jake McQuaid right now.
Yeah, I really do. He's much better.
Wait, McQuaid's with you guys now?
Yeah.
He was so good for the Rams for the majority of his career. Yeah.
I'm just trying to think who's on IR right now.
Matt Nelson,
do you want to get it up again? So
Hal's on there, Zonovan Knight's on there.
It's Hal, Matt Nelson, Shane Silstra, Zonovan Knight, Nate Sudfeld, Mosley, Mo Ibrahim, and Scott Daly.
Yeah, so Mosley's got to be the clear answer here. We need cornerback help. He's a clear CB1 upside CB2 kind of guy that we could have done with. Yeah, there's no question.
That's fair. Let's stick with some of the Grandizers questions. Question to everyone: is there a player that you can predict will have a monster breakout game? A player who, no matter what the opposing team does, they just can't seem to contain that player.
Who could break out for us?
JMO?
He's not really had a breakout game, I
Skipper.
guess.
Exactly, yeah.
Skipper. Two touchdowns. Like I said, on the 2-yard line, plant a screen, have Skipper out behind Amon-Ra and JMO, run it over.
Oh yeah, we did. Oh yeah, the Atten, that. I'm for that. Yeah.
It could be. You know what? If Sam's not going to play, it could be James Mitchell. It could be his time to have his game.
Well, if he's fit,
we could get.
If he's not dinged up.
He's had one limited game with
but generally speaking, when you're no designation on Wednesday and limited on Thursday, it's because midway through the practice you got dinged up.
It's better than no practice. That is what I will say. And they're probably taking it easy with him because, as you mentioned, we've not got that many tight ends right now. So, but Mitchell would be the obvious candidate if Laporte was not going to play.
There's a couple of people that I could say. I'm going to say Demarcus Robinson, though. I think he has the potential to have a really big game for the Rams.
I can see it, especially as I said, our CB2s. It's either both of them are small, and Robinson's like 6'2", 6'3", isn't he? So he's got the height advantage on them. So yeah, I can see that. And then on the same kind of lines, which player on your respective team is the ace in the hole? Who could be a top player, but isn't really well known to the other side of the panel?
I mean, is it a stupid answer to just say the guy that never gets talked about in Detroit?
Yeah. He
John Kaminsky. It's John Kaminsky season. The one guy the Lions rested last week because he's that important to the roster.
Yeah.
I mean, if he wouldn't be well known to guys outside of us. Yeah, and he's on a run of form at the minute. So
Melifonwu's on all pro pace the last 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah, but people won't know of him outside of ours. So unless they're big Syracuse fans, so
I'm going to be selfish with my answer here, and I'm going to pick Michael Hoyt.
Hoyt.
He's a Canadian. I actually have a friend who went to high school with him. If you were like, hey, Payotam, you can interview anyone on the Rams, but you have to pick right now, I would pick Michael Hoyt even over Cup and stuff. I know it's crazy, but I actually think he'll have an opportunity with the attention that Donald and Kobe Turner and Byron Young will get. I think that Michael Hoyt has potential to really get after the quarterback and do some damage.
I can back that.
Brian of Detroit just said, and I think we saw some news in this in our Discord, but Jeremy just said Nate Sudfeld was in the locker room today. First time I saw him all season.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think he's starting to finally rehab after having the operation his ACL in Philly.
Yeah.
Quite nice.
I'd love to, just on the breakout one, I didn't get to say anything for that, but
Sorry.
Donovan Peoples-Jones would be mine.
Oh.
Just with Raymond being out, we seem to like using him even as wide receiver 5. If he gets 4 reps, wide receiver 4 reps, then he's got safe hands, he runs good routes, he's a physical guy, he's not someone that we really have on the roster. I could see him having, maybe not a breakout game, a bigger game than we're used to.
And he's a candidate to replace Leaf in punt return game as well, because he did it for Cleveland. So yeah, he could take over that definitely. Trying to think of the ones that we can actually do together. So from Joachim Matson again, would you think that McVay's knowledge of JG is an advantage, as the Lions don't really have a lot of coaches from Stafford's tenure, which is kind of true. We have Frank Fraley, we have Ben Johnson, Tanner Engstrand was an offensive quality assistant coach back then. And then there's one more coach, I think, that's on the QC side of things that's around here. So obviously Rams have got the advantage there, but how much of an advantage is it on each side to know the other QB?
I think McVay is going to come up against a much different Goff than what he left, I think it might be fair to say. And plus, he's coming up against an offense that's not just based around Jared. Like, we've got 2 1,000-yard rushers on the team, and we have the offensive line to get them going. So I feel like he is a much different quarterback than when he first came. He is night and day better than when he first got here. So maybe some of those old habits Sean remembers him having, if he's going to try and hassle him into mistakes or try and play on a weakness, might not be there anymore. It's been 3 years. I think it will be the same for us with Staff. Staff will refine his game, like, to be able to combat anything we might put against him. So I don't think it's that much of an advantage, because I think enough time has elapsed that I don't think it matters.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And I think that, defensive coaches and head coaches, when they're preparing their game plan, they have to prepare for the whole offense. And, they will, isolate, individual players, especially the quarterback. But, Goff's game has grown over the past 3 years. I definitely think any film watching that the Rams have done, it's going to be from the Lions of this year and like last year. I don't see them pulling up a bunch of Goff footage from the 2018, 2019, 2020 season and being like, okay, how are we going to attack Goff right now from this footage of 3 years ago?
Yeah, and like with Stafford, I mean, Stafford with McVay is a different animal to Stafford with any other fucking offensive coordinator we had at the time. So anyone who thinks that there's some sort of history there that we can pull on,
Jim Bob Cooter.
God, don't bring up the Bob. Don't bring up the Bob.
Love Jim Bob.
He made a great fancy name for me one year.
But no, so basically, I don't think there's any impact there. Really.
Yeah, which I completely agree with. It's completely different animals, and both sides of the ball have different coaches that were there for the other one. So you might get small little things of like tendencies. You might be asking body language, but that's about it. And then one last one that's like sort of for everyone: McVay or Campbell, who will call the better game overall?
McVay has been in the bigger games, and he has the experience there. But Campbell has got so much better situationally, and in terms of the analytics, calls better games than almost anyone right now. In terms of the situational go for it, no go for it sort of stuff. So experience versus execution. Right now, Campbell's the better executor in terms of whether to go for it or not. But McVay is an absolute master and has the experience. I don't know. It's a really interesting question, but I have no answer.
The simple answer is Dan will call his game. And that will be that. Dan. So for everyone who's been like, the aggressiveness, the 4th down plays, every time he's put his team in that situation, like under pressure on 4th down, that's going to culminate in this game. That is what that is for. This is a big pressure playoff game now. And there might come a time where we need to be taking risky 4th downs. We might need to pull out some fakes or something like that. And our team is prepared for it. I fully believe we're going to see I think we're going to see the aggressive side of him in this. Dan won't go down like without a fight. That's why we went for 2 against the Cowboys and we didn't go for overtime. It's like you go out there and win it. You put your team in the situation to do so. So I think he's going to call a very aggressive game. Whether it's better than McVay's, I don't know. McVay seems to be more tactical with how he does it, as we've mentioned earlier, with the 4 quarters and everything. I don't know who's going to be better, but I know Dan will just call his game, and I think it's going to be as aggressive as hell. And we've spent 3 years building up for this moment, so the team's ready to do it.
And I'll just add, playoff McVay, we didn't see it last year because of, the injury bug. But from the year before and even before that, ever since McVay lost that Super Bowl against Belichick, he has called really good playoff games. And so I'm confident, I love that McVay is the coach of the Rams, and I have full faith that, he does have an advantage because of his playoff experience in this game. And, Campbell's a great coach. No joke about that. And I don't know if this is a game that McVay can win because he like when McVay would play like Cliff Kingsbury in the playoff against the Cardinals a couple of years ago, McVay outcoached him. It wasn't even close, right? This isn't one of those games where I think McVay can outcoach the opponent.
Just to say, Dave Paquette on Twitter has confirmed that Jerry Jacobs has gone to IR. So there we are. Jacobs shut down for the year. Shame for him. With his message, people were speculating that he's not going to be re-signed. Re-signing is a long way away, and we have no idea what's going to happen. I would say take the field on whether he's going to return or not, because the probability is that the market will decide and we might bring him back. But there's always the possibility he comes back. I mean, we like him enough that we kept him around for 3 years, so there's a good chance. Just on the 4th down, go for it. Lions are number 1 in the NFL. Ash, you may have looked at this already, I'm not sure. How often do the Lions go for it on 4th down?
Oh, God, I should remember.
Trivia question. How often, what percentage of the time do the Lions go for it on 4th down?
75%.
No, come on. No.
It's about...
Seriously.
I think it might be around, I want to say 35, 40-ish. I do remember seeing a computer cowboy picture.
They are number 1 in the NFL. Last in the NFL is the Ravens, 11.4%. The Lions go for it 33.8% of the time. Second are the Panthers, because you suck.
Obviously.
But the Rams are 20th, 16.8%. So basically half the amount that we go for it. 2-point go for it is about the same, 8.7%. And oh no, hang on. You go for it, 2 a lot more than we do. Sorry, 8.7%.
We don't have a kicker.
And 13.9%. So there we go.
I say, can we ban kickers for this weekend? I feel like that would make us better. Can we both do that? Can we just agree to not use kickers?
I am A-okay agreeing to that. No kicking.
We had a question just from Joachim Madsen as well. Question for Peo. Is McVay going to have all 3 timeouts going into the 4th quarter?
So, yeah, I'm going to predict yes. Most games, he always takes the 3rd quarter timeout. It's very infuriating. But as of late, he's been saving all 3 till the 4th. I'm going to predict that he keeps all 3 until then.
And I'm going to predict that Dan doesn't.
Yeah,
it's red flag time, boys.
Yeah, a red flag.
Red flag time, boys.
I'm sorry, I'm speaking this into existence because Dan's thrown 17 unsuccessful red flags in a row. He is going to keep throwing red flags and getting them wrong until one day we're in a Super Bowl and he's going to win us a Super Bowl with a red flag challenge. It's going to be his first ever one, and that is just the sacrifice we're having to make. I'm speaking that into existence.
Yeah. Has Campbell ever won a challenge?
No, 17 in a row wrong.
What? Really?
Yeah. We're not joking. No, Pale, this is not me joking. It's 17 in a row that he's incorrectly got. This is why.
That's gonna be some sort of record. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, this is not me joking. I'm being deadly serious that he will throw his first correct challenge flag in a Super Bowl. That is my
That'd
actual
be so
prediction.
funny. That'd be great. I think that Dan will take a timeout in the third just because he'll want to get his defense right in some situation. But I predict the Rams will have one timeout going into the fourth quarter because I think that
Crowd's not
that
done their
Ford
job
Field
if
is
they do.
just going to be the
True,
loudest
yeah,
anyone's
that's a
ever
good point.
seen a stadium before. I mean,
If Crowd's not done its job, if he's got 3 timeouts left in both halves, I'd expect to at least get rid of one. Otherwise, the crowd will have disappointed us.
I mean, you guys have all seen the coverage of the Silverdome when the referees are saying we're going to give you a penalty if the crowd doesn't quiet down, and if it is not that loud, I will be disappointed.
Like, you've just said what's going to happen now, haven't you? We're going to get hit with last drive of the game. We've got them at 4th and 5. They throw an incompletion. It's too loud. 5-yard penalty.
5-yard penalty
Converted.
is unsportsmanlike conduct on the crowd.
Crowd, isn't it? It's like which game was it? And do you remember which game it was last season? Not this season, just gone the one before, where the crowd got an unsportsmanlike conduct because they were throwing snowballs onto the opposition bench.
Oh, that was in Buffalo, was it? That was in Buffalo, wasn't it? I think it was in Buffalo.
But it wasn't the one at college where they did it. Yeah, as well.
Yeah, they were throwing them at all the players.
Yeah,
that was at App State, I think, if I remember rightly.
It does sound like an App State thing.
Good.
Good
thought. Peo, we've got a couple of questions which are very Lions related and no others. So it seems like a good point to say thank you to you and to let you go for a really long stream. So thank you for being with us all this time and thank you for just joining us. It's been an absolute thrill. Grandize has been talking about us collabing for a long time. So
absolutely. No, I'm really glad we got to make this happen. Blessings on you all and your content creation. Good luck to your Lions. I hope you guys have a great stream, but obviously, I'm hoping for a Rams win.
Don't blame you. Good luck with your stream as well. Have a great weekend. We'll see you soon.
Cheers, boss.
Right.
Cheers.
Cheers, Peo.
Been a pleasure. Bye.
All right. 2 further questions then, Ash and Ant. First one, could Scotty Montgomery get any head coaching interviews?
So I'm going to ask this question first. It doesn't feel like assistant head coaches get jobs very often. It feels like it's offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators. It doesn't feel like positional guys who are assistant head coaches. Like Deuce or someone like that. He didn't get one.
So I was going to say the only one I've seen so far, people can correct me in the comments, I've seen of an assistant head coach getting an interview is the Ravens offensive line and offensive head coaching getting one for Panthers. Yeah, I think he's going to have to be a coordinator. It's just how the league works. Unfortunately, you have to be a coordinator because it just
unless
that play calling is unless yours. Exactly, but we needed it. Maybe the Panthers should take someone like that who has a culture guy, but Tepper's not that kind of person. He wants a coordinator. I think the Titans have said they specifically want a coordinator. They don't care about the side of the ball it is. They want someone who's got coordinator experience.
I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how many teams take our approach now. Like getting a culture guy, not a I don't say not a smart guy because that's you know what I mean. Not like a specialist in analytics and bits. They're going to get a guy who is a culture builder.
Never mind calling him a culture builder or an X and O guy or a rah-rah guy, smart guy, whatever. What about just calling Dan Campbell the all-rounder?
Yeah, I mean, Dan's
does it all.
He's got the best ability, which is to know what he's smart at and what he's not, which is the best quality of a leader.
He's humble.
You surround yourself with the guys who plug in the gaps which you have, because Patricia was a moron. He had 50 holes and he wouldn't fill one with a guy because he was the smartest guy in the room. But Dan is a culture setter who is great at some things, but he's humble. Like I said, he's humble enough to know what he's not good at.
Well, it's not even that. Dan takes pride in saying the answer, I don't know, let me find someone who does.
Yeah, exactly. So I wonder if we will go away from just getting traditional coordinators to, like I say, someone who might be hidden on a staff, who is in Dan's mold and likeness, and see if they can replicate it elsewhere. I feel like Detroit is a very special case because the city kind of digs that and gets behind it, and it's part of the culture already to a degree. But I'd be interested to see if more teams, because a lot of teams are just circling in the wilderness now. The Panthers, what are they doing? Like, they need a culture guy more than anybody. They need someone to restore some pride in that organization.
They need a new owner.
Yeah, but at least in the meanwhile. So I'd be interested to see if more culture guys come in as opposed to coordinators. But I don't think Scotty will yet, because it's not the route that you take in generally. I don't think we're there yet with culture guys.
I think he gets an interview.
Yeah.
I got an interview in the last cycle, if I remember rightly.
That was for an OC
that was
position
for the
right
same-
after.
yeah.
That was for OC because he came to us as a running backs coach and the assistant head coach. He came in on the Tuesday, and on the Friday, the Buccaneers gave him an interview for OC before then hiring Todd Canales on the Sunday.
You're right. I think he's got an outside shot of having an interview. The way that we've done things, and him being the assistant head coach, and the fact that Dan was an assistant head coach when he came to us, I think that makes sense. What do you think, Ash?
Yeah, I can see it happening. It's just, I think he's going to be mostly coordinated. Obviously, I see it. You see me put it into Discord. He's going to coordinate. I would see him getting some ones, especially down south in like the Carolina. So maybe he might get on Carolina because I remember way back, maybe early 2000s, he was the head coach for Coastal Carolina. He's got connections down there. It would have to be somewhere he's got connections because I think that's the one thing that's kind of underappreciated with Dan. Having the fit here is the fact he was played here. He was here for the 0-16 season. He knew the culture and he knew how to fit into that. I think that's going to be a big part for how it works because he had that culture. That Brad came with the mindset, knowing the culture, and he kept around the kind of guys that helped him build that culture. Obviously, Ben Johnson, but obviously, maybe more importantly, because we rely on the trenches, Hank. So I can see Scotty definitely getting the things, but he might have to be he needs to get some coordinator experience right now because he's done it in the past, especially in college, but he needs to do it now, which obviously probably come onto a question we'll have in a few minutes about what happens when Ben leaves.
See, it's, just quickly going back to the whole Dan and getting thinking, obviously the next big position that's been spoken about for a guy that may take the leap is with the Patriots, because isn't Mayo favourite for the job there?
Yeah, they're saying
he's the linebackers coach, but he's played for them and then basically gone straight into coaching there. So
and he's the de facto DC there as well.
It was like what happened with Patricia was the linebackers coach, then it was Flores, now it's Mayo.
Yeah, but it's a big job to take over. But you feel like that is an organization that needs someone from within who knows it. Now exactly, that might be the next iteration of the Campbell hire.
I think it's Mayo, and everyone is connecting them with Vrabel because he used to play there as well. He's already doing the head coaching. He's shown he can lead a winning organization, but at the same time, he needs to learn to give up the play calling stuff because for a defensive guy, you look at the Titans' defense; it hasn't been good the past couple of years.
How funny would it be if he went to Atlanta?
Who, Belichick?
No, Vrabel.
Oh.
Just because it was his offensive coordinator that went there and it failed, so you bring the head coach over instead.
I think Falcons fans, from what I gather, are fed up with people from Tennessee right now. So.
Yeah, I thought so too, but that doesn't stop people getting rumoured in this sort of situation. We heard it when Patricia went. So
I just want Bill to go there for the laughs. Like, hey guys, so much happened?
Let's not talk about coaching favourites for vacant positions right now.
Well, talking about coaches, though, does Dre Bly stay with the Lions or is he replaced in the off-season? Asks Mike Marine.
Sorry, go on, Ash. Go on.
I was going to say, can I abstain? Because I think my answer to this is also going to be my answer to the next question.
So I feel like Dre's work with the safeties will compensate the work with the corners. I think we've seen good enough development from guys that he deserves a shot with it because he's not had a proper cornerback room. He didn't have his main guys this year. So it's very difficult. You lose Mosley, you lose Gardner Johnson, you've only got Sutton in there, and then you're working with a load of other guys. I feel like he deserves an opportunity, especially if you go like first round pick this year, a corner, for example. I feel like he deserves the opportunity for one more year to show he can do it when he's got enough resources to work with. I feel like I've seen enough to give him one more go.
I think that Dre Bly enters next season in the same place that Aubrey Pleasant did in 2022. If halfway through next season the Lions DBs have not stepped up further, he will be gone mid-season. His seat will be warm going into it, but I don't think they'll fire him in the off-season because he just hasn't been in a seat long enough to judge him. If he doesn't see progress midway through the year, they will not hesitate.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Give him an opportunity to work with a good group, and even if the improvement isn't vast, but you can see it's trending in the right direction, then you still know it's a good fit. So yeah, I agree with that.
Was one more question, wasn't there? So
Mike Marine.
Ash, you were abstaining because of this question. Mike Marine again. If Ben Johnson or Aaron Glenn gets a head coaching job, what coaches leave with them?
Well,
this is why
Christ.
I'm scared of a coordinator leaving, because we've built our pipeline. What if half of it leaves?
Yeah. Which is, you can guess which one of the coaches I'm going to say for AG, so I'll start with AG first. I can see him taking Bly, and I can see him taking Duca, who's obviously the safeties coach, because he's a secondaries guy. He's known Duca for a couple of years. He's been here to start with us. And he's obviously brought in Bly. I know Bly obviously has a connection to us, but as you said, if he sticks around, his seat is going to be very hot. So I can see Bly maybe go. And plus, I think he has had some coordinator experience in college as well. So I can maybe see AG poaching him. But I think that if AG goes, John Scott Jr. and Kelvin Shepherd both stay. For Ben, there's got to be some agreements in place because obviously he's been grooming Tanya Engström to be his replacement. He's going to stay. I can see Montgomery staying, and I'm going to beat Ant to the punch. I hope to God Frank Fraley stays. If Ben goes, we need to suddenly go to Hank. Literally, as soon as we hear that, we need to run down to Hank's thing and offer him a contract that has double the amount of money because we need him to stay. But I can see Ben taking maybe Steve Howden with him, though I think he might stay with Dan. I can see him taking Anton Randall L with him, and then I can see him taking some like the assistant guys, like the JT Barrett, for example. He could be his quarterbacks coach wherever he goes. I can see that happening, and then Brunel staying with Dan. So it's really look at some of the guys who are tied to the positions they coach, and then the assistant guys. It's like, but for the most part, I think some of the mainstays, like John Scott Jr., seems very much a Dan hire on the defense. Calvin Shepherd will probably take over as DC, and then on offense, Tanner will take over as OC, so he's not going, and hopefully Brunel and Frank stay.
I think when you look at this, you've got to look at who would they take with them to be their coordinators. Because I don't think a lot of these positional guys will move just for the same job with them elsewhere. Like Hank, I love Hank to death and we need to protect him with everything we've got here. But I don't think Hank's ever going to be an OC. I don't know if he'd want to be an OC. I mean, I don't know him, but he just strikes me as the guy who wouldn't. So if he's taking him to be an O-line coach. He's an O-line coach here, and he's got a very cushy life. He'll get looked after, and Brad loves his trenches, so he'll get the guys that he wants. So that's a case of money. And we can pay them that. So I don't think we're going to lose them. So you've got to look at the guys who they take with them as a coordinator. So, would he take Scotty with him as an offensive coordinator? Maybe, because that would be Scotty's next, I guess, role if he wants to get into head coaching full time. Give up here, go and be an offensive coordinator. But, Ben's an offensive-minded coach, so is he going to interfere with it too much? Will he just take a lesser guy with him, give him the title, but not give him play calling duties? I don't know, but with the defense, I don't see another DC in there just yet. Like, if Glenn leaves, John Scott's still getting used to his time here. Kelvin, I want to be defensive coordinator one day, but I'm not sure he's there yet. I will keep expanding his responsibilities first. And I don't think any of the secondaries guys are there either. So I think, again, you're moving for positional value. You're moving to do the same position, and we can keep people here with money, and they're in a good place right here. Like, they get looked after well, they get paid well, they're on a good team, an ascending team, they're rising their stock. So I don't think the danger's that high, personally, just because of, it's be sideways moving for a lot of them. I don't think they're going to take many coordinators out of here with them.
Right, we had a lot of questions. We've been going almost 4 hours, so I'm calling it. This is it. 66.
This is it. I was just singing, this is it. No, you know that.
66 years in the making. Go and do it. Be loud.
Exactly.
In Goff we trust. Good luck, everybody. And Ash, see you this weekend. If you're in the stadium, scream your lungs out. I don't want you to be able to speak on Monday.
See how Matt sounded at points during this podcast. That's how we need you to sound.
I've struggled through this. My voice is almost gone, but never mind. Enjoy it, everybody. If you can't enjoy it, it's going to be a long wait until next year. So take it for what it's worth. And hopefully we'll be with you again next week for another preview. Until then, see you soon, everybody. Bye.
Boy.
Right versus everybody.
Yeah, boy.